All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the 5X win-a-box for the Union Arena card game. I'm joined with Jake. How you doing, Jake?
Good. Excited to see this one. Finally getting some new sets with Jujutsu Kaisen and Code Geass.
Yeah,
Ready to see what players cook.
yeah. I've been. There's just such a small window between both releases and Thanksgiving, and as we both know, Gundam had a big thing in the last couple of days too. So we've been busy, but I'm happy to be here and to look at just like a whole new meta, right? Like the card pool has doubled for this game in the last month, which is really fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting because there's multiple decks that I think are competitive coming out of both sets,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially when you talk about Code Geass, right? With green Lancelot, purple is very good, and then one of the world premiere decks of Sukuna JJK Fingers, right,
Yeah.
was part of the world finals. So now coming to the West, going to be excited. I know it's a pretty popular deck, I think, generally.
Yeah, yeah, and the kind of the nature of this game with how people are like just how long some decks stay around, I think is really interesting. And then if they get like a second set, they get like a second wind kind of stuff. But it's really cool to see like how old decks are still viable when there's like new sets and stuff that come out. All right, but
Do
look,
know that Jujutsu Kaisen, I think, has two sets in Japan. So
correct.
still a long ways away from that, obviously. Still got to figure it out. But with the new restrictions in JJK as well, kind of mirroring how the East did on top of that, it's going to be interesting to see if there's any kind of Western adjustments, right, as we start seeing. Because you know the West, different play style usually than the East.
Yeah, 100%. I do think that is we see this all the time, especially like in other games we cover, like One Piece and stuff like that. That the West generally likes to just play the game how they want to play it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking like we're gonna get this set up round one pretty quickly. Let me finish getting the names here, and make sure that I know which leaders are not leaders archetypes people are playing because it looks like I think you said that you know Orion, one of
So
our
it's
players.
going to be green Lancelot versus purple Bleach.
Cool.
That's going to be the two matchups.
Cool. Well, let's go over there real quick. All right. So here we are at table one, and it looks like we are starting off with the green Lancelot player going first.
Looks like playing just that extra energy one resting sideways. Really typical for a lot of different Kokias decks as I see.
Yeah, I agree. And when you have to get to 8 energy, which is the soft cap of energy generation in this game, right?
Hmm.
You do that double energy does come up, I think, a lot.
So it looks like Kim starting out with the classic Uryu or Hime, one of the best combos of Purple Bleach, that we've seen since that first tournament that you've had.
Mm-hmm.
But Kim's list a little bit different than the classic Renji Rush.
Yeah.
So solidifying a couple more energies down in terms of the green turn, right? Now we go back to Kim. Gonna be interesting to see what he plays down. Doesn't have Renji at all in his deck. One of our, yeah, as you were saying, one of our locals, you already see the alternate soy phone there in the trash for him off of that Uryu. So playing down the Ichigo, it's good to just establish Ichigo as, the main raid target of choice, playing anywhere between, I would say, like 10 to 14 of them, and just gets the energy going. That's the name of the game for Purple Bleach.
Yeah. And yeah, like it is something that's set up. And if you are playing, I'd say like a more traditional, like I guess maybe traditional is not the right word, but a aggressive like 4K rush deck. I could see like our Code Geass decks not having necessarily enough time to set up. But it looks like we're double pushing up. We're going to be playing out a couple of zero cost, including our just additional energy generation. So looks like we're going to just push the fact that they have no cards face forward. We're going to have the Ichigo, which we'll be able to add to. Is that not the raid one?
That's the one that grabs something from the trash and plays a one cost or less. So
Oh,
nothing
okay.
in the trash at
Gotcha.
that point.
That's the
So
color trigger.
just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
trash card. But usually a classic strategy that we see against purple Bleach decks in general, right? Pushing up those small bodies early. That was the big reason, I think, one of them, that green Toshiro deck ended up winning the last one. So kind of, even though may not know exactly what Kim's deck is built around, just kind of still utilizing that strategy and getting a couple life there.
Mm-hmm.
So now Kim playing down the Rukias. That's the raid Rukia, not opting to use it, just using it as the 4,000 vanilla body that everybody always asks about in the Soy Fon, right? Choosing up to a character with 3,500 or less BP on the front line. And then, what is it? At the start of your opponent's next turn, sideline the character, then switch this character to resting to move it to the energy line. So a good, like, kind of move character, I would say.
Yeah.
As you see right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of like step, right, to be able to do that, which is nice. I mean, especially in a deck that needs to generate just so much energy for your high end plays, you definitely need that kind of allowed, right?
Mm-hmm. So now it's interesting. This green corpse bus, special corpse head trailer, apologies, generating 3 energy now really is a big key, I feel like, to getting to that coveted 8, like you said,
Yeah, because right now we're without the use of that, we're generating, I think, 7 with that, stay active double energy with Kurumi in the back. But because we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then discarding a card, we're at 7. So generating 8 now with this just standard Lancelot, and looks like we're playing out the we're just going super tall. I think we've got no cards left in hand, but we've played out 2 copies of Lancelot, 8 drops. One of them has been rated, one of them is just active on the front line, which 5,000 blocker is pretty good.
And with that double damage too, it's gonna be a heavy hitter, especially because 5,000 is a tough number for purple Bleach, not really having any 5,000 power characters.
Yeah, and so like you have to just use your Getsus, right, to be able to add that additional value. And I could be wrong. Do we not like get to raid that Ichigo to our hand, or was there something I missed from there?
So there was no Ichigo on the field, right?
Yeah, but you can still add it to your hand, right?
You can still add it to your hand. But what Kim might be doing is kind of building up the trash in general, right? For the big knockouts. If you have the ability to use that 5 drop raid Ichigo, right? In order to take out a 5,000 power character, you got to move 10 cards to the removal area. Yeah. So sometimes we see that as a strategy that, especially these Bleach decks, when they can't necessarily use their draw some, trash some effects, right, to help build that discard pile, especially with, leaving out the Rukia and Orihime in the Western editions of the sets.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on, but just not looking good for purple Bleach at all in this one. Just 1 life left and not very many bodies.
No, and like at the same point, like Caleb is out of cards, right? We've got no cards in hand. We spent pretty much all of our resources to get to this point. And if you have a way to break it, then I don't think there's a lot of coming back from this. But I mean, again, these double damage 5,000 bodies are just so strong right now.
And especially with a bunch of triggers, add to hand, you talk about the different 0 costs and things like that, the raid characters, right? On there's plenty of cards that can help build up your hand even at that point. So gonna be interesting to see what happens, but looks like Kim's gonna start out with that 0 cost Ichigo and then play the Getsuga, right? That card that you were talking about to get rid of that guy.
Yeah, it doesn't truly, I don't think, matters which one, I guess. I mean, maybe put the one without the guy underneath it just in case like that matters, that it's in your sideline, but still, this is a pretty behind situation I feel that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not playing Bankai on this turn, you have no Bankai on this turn, it's going to be really tough because all you got to do now as the Lancelot is push up different bodies, right, that are on your energy line already and hope that there's just no final event and trigger.
Yeah, and our special, right, I think both would be able to, but using the Ichigo here to be able to get that removal is strong. Only 1 life left, which is pretty intimidating. And we're going to start off with our attack here.
These are pretty easy takes in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever think about blocking either of these attacks.
Yeah, you just want to be able to attack on the next turn with the cards there, and technically adding that Lancelot to hand, but getting the extra draw too, since you've got likely nothing else to use that AP for. Push them both up, and let's just see what's in that last life spot.
I think it's going to need to have a couple different consecutive, like final. What is the Bankai's going to have? 2 straight Bankais, I think, to even think about getting out of this turn.
Mm-hmm. All right, we add a card with our Searcher there. All right, we're discarding Lancelot. We're getting just another energy generation there, and we're going to start with 4K, which, it is a final trigger. All right.
So was able to... Or is it a final trigger? No, that's the choose one character on your opponent's front line and sideline it.
Yeah, but that should still be enough, right? Oh wait, because you can't damage. Do you need to? Okay, maybe my understanding of damage too is wrong.
It's when you hit. It's when you hit 0. That's when you lose.
Sorry. I've been playing.
I've been playing
in One Piece. I'm sorry.
After doing the
yeah. My apologies.
No worries. When I was watching videos today to learn about like Lancelot and Purple Code Geass, I had that same thing.
So okay. So here's my other thing too. Like, maybe I'm wrong about this because it's been a minute. If you damage 2 and you hit the final trigger, you get to check the next one, right? Or is it only 2 at that time?
So they check both at the. I believe this is how it goes.
Okay,
you check both at the same time, and then you choose the order of the triggers.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you had final trigger and add to hand, you would just do the one to add to hand first, and then you do that final check on that trigger to then gain an extra life. Yeah.
My apologies. Yeah, as mentioned, I've been playing so many card games these last couple weeks. I think in most like other like Bandai card games too, like it's the same kind of thing where if the double damage, you can kind of do the order wrong in situations like that, but that makes a little bit more sense. So that not being a final just means that we are over, and really strong start from our Green Lancelot, just being able to just cruise through that pretty quickly, but at the same time, like we are out of resources after the end there, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a glass cannon method. Was able to get all the energy down right away, and especially the extra ones as well. And then, just went in with that all-in strategy. But especially when you're not taking swings, right? There's almost no way to add cards to your hand except for the extra draw.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of one of those things that, yes, you run out of cards in hand, but eventually you're going to get them back, right? As soon as your opponent does something in the game, because you'll let them swing if you have big 5,000 power bodies on the field and 7 life left.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I'm trying to find another game. I think we found one on table 4. We're just going to jump over there real quick. I'll get the names in a moment. But we've got another Purple Bleach. Purple Bleach is pretty popular today, but also versing against the Purple Code Geass, which is obviously newer to this card game.
So the Purple Code Geass, very interesting. Has a lot of similarities in terms of when you talk about like the kind of aggro style that was created alongside Renji Rush, but the values of the different effects that you have on those cards just kind of outvalue the vanillas that are very popular within the Purple Bleach deck. So this is a matchup that I definitely am excited to see. And it looks like it's 4 to 4 or 5 life, I think the Purple Code Geass character has.
Yeah. I believe... I don't know. People who use matte sleeves, they always do this where they're just like, I can make one rectangle. People know where we're at, and just do like what our Bleach players way better. Just it helps us identify. But I about 4 rectangles seem to make that big rectangle.
That's what I would think as well. So pretty even game in my personal opinion at this point.
Yeah. All right, and so we've got Blake Johnson versus Daniel Friedman. And looks like we're using our Renji ability here for the double, I believe.
The double is really great because especially with 4 life, really forces your opponent to potentially block. Yeah. So going to be getting rid of one of those bodies, especially that 0, right? Forces your opponent to need another additional body to get that raid effect with the Lelouches, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So looks like
I'll go for it.
getting a color trigger first, I think, off of this first one. Playing a 2-drop or less, so we'll see if he's got one in trash, which one he'd like to play. I think CC's probably a good one, right? Being able to draw some.
Yeah.
If you've got one in there.
Yeah, and I don't think like this deck doesn't have like a lot of impact, but it does have nullify impact, which is great. But just getting another body up there, I think, is very strong.
Looks like grabbing that alternate art Lelouch.
Yeah, the 2 cost. So yeah, 1 play, you get to choose one of your opponent's frontline characters who loses 1,000 BP. So that does turn off the Renji attack for the turn 2.
Yeah, so actually one of the more perfect triggers I feel like you can get, being able to get a free block on that one's going to save you either a body or 2 life. So very, very lucky moment.
Yeah, and we've been seeing like a lot of purple in this game, I think, in general, be very strong. Like every, like especially like Bleach has been very good with it, and like Code Geass has been strong with it, but mostly because of like the flexibility in a lot of their plays, right? They're not as, I think, straightforward on the best way to use something.
So using this Geass of absolute obedience right there, being able to take away the Renji and then active one more Dawn, just a really great card in general, and allows you to get this raid off as well, even though you're playing a 2 action point card, event card.
Yeah. And this is Gurren Mark II. This is the rare from the set. And then 1 played if you have Lelouch. This gets must be blocked if possible, which is really strong here. And then also impact 1. So you are also able to get the removal of the Ichigo there. And this is looking pretty good for Code Geass all of a sudden.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point that I was talking about, of like this kind of strategy of filling the board with bodies, but the effects are just so good, right? Forcing a Renji Rush player to block is so instrumental because it's all gas, no brakes, you know, swinging away and kind of taking life pretty diligently at times as well. You want to keep bodies on the field, but if you can't do that, and it's whoever blocks first really loses the game. So you get your Bleach player to block first, it's going to be a downfall, and it's looking good for Purple Geass.
Now, I will say that a minor, I think, sequencing error from Blake. We did decide to go from tall to small, and the reason that kind of makes a difference is because they were able to get their own color trigger, which got out this Renji, which our 15K 0 wasn't really able to interact with, right?
So now we'll see. He promoted the Renji up. Could end up using the Renji raid if he wanted to. Looks like he's got enough in trash to maybe use that when played effect. If he's had that, if he had that thought, he's at 4 energy now. 2 actions left after I believe he had a draw that he did.
Yeah, but at the same time, and one weakness I would say about the Code Geass deck is that we do have impact, but it's generally only the turn that it's played, right? Both of these Mark IIs had impact, but no longer will, so that means that we still have to do some actual damage moving forward. And looks like we are able to raid into our Ichigo there.
So just trashing a couple baby Ichigos. Thinking about which one he would want to get rid of as well. One of those 2 4,000 power bodies up top.
All right, and yeah, just casually removing 8 cards, deciding. Yeah, both Mark IIs are about the same, right? So not at this point, right? So not a huge deal.
You're just more so just trying to get rid of a 4,000 power body, if anything. Nice Bankai moment, actually. Going to be able to potentially fill this open slot on the board so you don't have to take the 1 life if you don't have to. Double raid on this guy. Does he have enough cards? I think even with the mill 2, potentially has enough to get rid of this other 4,000 power body on the purple Code Geass side. But no, he's sitting at 5 right now before the mill. So he'd only be able to put 7 away.
Yeah, and we'd still be able to get rid of something here. But the addition. Oh, sorry. This is the start.
Sorry. Yeah, this is the. got too excited about the whole removal idea. But impact's still pretty good. Forces the more than likely probable life, so you do get to progress a little bit closer to the game.
Yeah, and we got a draw trigger CC. Actually, that's not CC. That's the other one, right? Or no, that is CC. Sorry, for some reason I didn't recognize that art. All right, thinking about this 4,000. This one does not have impact. You could use 0 to block it if you so desire. Because the rest of these are just like 4Ks, right?
Yeah, the Renji being a 4,000 and then a quick little 1,500 from the Renji. The Renji little guy is an easy block to make, right? But with that being the last swing, you can't depend on a block and then maybe like a 3,000 active trigger on your side. So got to think about this carefully. Might have 2 life left, I think. Again, still a little hard to tell.
Yeah. Shoutouts for the sleeve game being on point for at least the archetypes that they're playing, right? I do.
Oh yeah,
appreciate
love
that.
matching it.
Oh,
and yeah, it looks like has 1 life after this.
And is this the?
This is the active 3,000, so could put it on there. I kind of like putting it on the 0.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, you get to keep another body on the field and potentially raid with it. But this also kind of leads to the same exact thing because you had 2 other bodies that were active on the field.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, if you're able to get a raid, or if you're into like a removal, or if you're able to just remove something in general, or impact, I think you win the game. But barring final trigger, but it's asking for quite a bit at a spot like this,
especially maybe a Gawain raid, right? Going in, giving minus 1,000 to everything, especially for these big 4,000 power bodies, would really force them, I think, to end up blocking, but ends up doing this instead with the non-SR kind.
Yeah, and last card, not a final trigger, and Blake's going to be able to steal it away with code Geass.
So really interesting first 2 matches, right? We've seen 2 different colors of code Geass go in against Bleach decks, right? A little bit different of Bleach, purple Bleach builds, but collecting wins on both sides. Is that something that really surprises you at this point?
Yeah, and I'm also unsurprised that these are the 2 Bleach ones that we have right now. We'll see if we get a a red code Geass one, right? Which is my favorite, but I understand the issues with that one potentially. So we will see. But I think that it's been cool just to see these 2 right out the gate and do well in their respective matchups. And we'll see. Let's see. That's the first couple tables here. Let me jump to see if there's any other tables that are kind of in an okay spot.
Kind of in their mid game right now.
Yeah. Let's see.
But still plenty of archetypes just kind of as you're looking, browsing through the different deck lists that are in this event. A good amount, I think, also of JJK yellow and purple.
Oh, really?
Definitely the undervalued different archetypes, but I know there's a couple yellows in here, and then there's a few purples as well. And kind of looking through some of the purples that were in this event, I think a decent mix of Toto, Mahito, Ghetto, kind of different archetypes, some Academy and elsewhere of there. So it feels like a good bit of variety for this tournament today. It doesn't feel like there's one that's overwhelming majority, I would say.
Yeah, there's definitely like a drop off from what I'd say like tier 1 decks down to, tier 1.5 or tier 2, but a good amount of variety because we have just under 100 players. I think it's 93 final count. And then also, I'll have all the data for archetypes. It's going to be surface level of just IP color combination because 100-ish lists of determining if it's Renji Rush or not is not the time that I have in my life right now. But I do think that's impactful there. All right. It's looking like, man, it's a little bit tough to say how much time is left in some of these games too, right? Because it's sometimes like, well, they're at 5 life, but they're just going to lose 4 of them immediately, right?
Trying to help you look around and try to find someone.
Yeah, because I definitely want to try to get some JJK decks for the next round if we haven't already. And as mentioned, there were quite a few yellow JJKs as well. So we'll maybe we can just go to table 4. No, that one ended.
There's table 29. Both players have 3 life, both JJK blue decks.
All right, sure. Let's go over there. Let me.
Still seems like a decent sized game. We do have one, the what I would say is top player on, or I guess it'd be different for the stream, but the player with the JJK mat in here has 2 Sukuna raids down on the field, so the different raids very good. But
yeah, let me just get these set up. Yeah, because they're both playing the purple one, or sorry, the blue one. And those are those there. Cool. Let's jump over there.
And just as I mentioned, you know, having 2 Sukunas down on the field, either getting blocked or deleted on those, but looks like just kind of conceding right there as the Maki was getting ready to swing because both bodies got removed on the field. And it looks like the kind of Nanami, the Nanami is an interesting tech that has been jumping in with blue Bleach. It's not like 100%, I would say, in all of the decks, but still very, very good, especially when you get to the late game and you only have 15 cards or less, gaining that extra power and damage.
Yeah, I agree. And as mentioned, like some of these games just end explosively. They're just like, well, they've been having this staring contest for 5 turns, and then someone eventually like decides that they're ready to go. So we've got like 5 minutes left in this round. I'm going to spend this time just getting some data to look for our next one, since the first round of these are almost always like a hot start as a TO as well. But if there's any decks that you guys want us to see into round number 2, please let us know. We'll do our best to get those tracked, and we're going to get that set up. So let us know in the comments or in the chat, and we'll be back with round number 2. We'll be back in like 5-10 minutes. Be right back. All right, we are back. We've got for you guys round number 2, and we've got an oldie and an old kid on the block and a new kid on the block as well.
It's going to be really interesting to see this one, right? Sukuna being one of the new big dogs on the block, especially getting a restriction right out of the gate, not something that we've really had in Union Arena up to this point. Going against a deck that is incredibly strong, right? In Kurapika. Kurapika just having that snipe impact. We're going to see how it can control these bodies on the field.
Yeah. And I also want to see like how Kurapika does around against like green code Geass, right? Because like Kurapika was already like, man, this is a tall deck that's sometimes slow to start, and then like green code Geass is like, okay, hold on, like let me let me get to 8 real quick and
yeah,
make
I
a
mean,
better
we
5K.
saw in that game, it was like the first 3 action point turn or something like that. He was already at 8 and playing the 8 energy. That's mind blowing. I feel like for the Union Arena decks that we've seen up to this point, if only Kurapika could do that.
Yeah, yeah, I wholly agree on that because there's just so many times where I'm like, man, I just need like one more energy. I would discard 2 cards from my hand to get there right now, but Kurapika doesn't really have an answer to that.
I'm also really curious with this Kurapika deck, right? Playing the Neon Gaming, a great card that a lot of players love to use. Also has a full set of the 5-drop Hisokas that force blocks. So we're going to see how that impact happens in this game as the I don't know which deck he has going first, but we'll see on this 1-drop.
All right, and looks like we are playing. Okay, yeah, just playing out our 0 cost. This is the Kento, and we're playing a little bit more of the Nami package, which I don't think you've mentioned on camera, but I'll mention now in case you haven't. So definitely need that 0 cost.
Yeah, that Nanami is great in this deck. Not something that all Sukuna players play, but is a great option, especially as I mentioned, as we caught the tail end of the last one. Great for the late game, but looks like the Kurapika player just playing 2 Zepiles, doing that draw 1, trash 1, just hand filtering, trying to find the different key pieces, moving into Sukuna turn 2. So want to see a finger here soon, right? One of the Sukuna's fingers just so good in the game and decides to push up the Nanami, right? Going ahead and playing down the Nobara, does a draw 1, trash 1 of their own. We're going to see some early game pressure on the Kurapika. Definitely a weakness to the deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does need a lot of setup. And one kind of quick aside is that you can tell like the consistency of decks that can and do use their draw 1, sideline 1. Like it's just like the best 0 cost like effect in the game, and the fact that some archetypes just simply don't have it make it a lot tougher for some color combinations to survive. But we did have a special trigger off of there. Probably not the biggest threat to remove, but still one removed in the first place.
I think especially if you're the Sukuna player, that's a perfectly timed one, right? You would much rather have that 0 cost be taken out than one of your Sukuna UG raids, Nanamis. So definitely love seeing it on a 0.
All right, and it's looking like our Zepiles just keep drawing themselves there. We have our 3rd copy there.
Can't find what you need, just draw a card, right? What
Just
could
keep
go
drawing
wrong?
it. And
Could it be interesting to see if a Leorio maybe comes down? The Leorio would be able to have more Zepile gaming, but the Hunter's License going to bring up back to a full 3.
And we're going to play out our starter deck Kurapika, and then we're going to play out our step Kai there. So we currently are generating, 5 energy. We have the potential to generate a couple more next turn by stepping back. And, once we get to that 7, we can really kind of take off. But for our Sukuna player, we are again drawing 1 and sidelining 1, but that Nobara we did add to our hand back with the double energy, so not too surprising there.
So now got that Nanami right there. That's a interesting Nanami to see, and we're going to see if he just plays another one.
Yeah, that one is the 3 cost, right? So when attacking, you can place the top card of your deck into your sideline. If you do, you can choose something with 15 or more, and it loses 1,000. So you can get some kind of good damage. But just the fact that it's a Nanami is pretty good for your raid potential too, and which is exactly kind of what we're happening with the 0 cost too. Now, I think the only thing about this guy is that it takes a little bit of setup in the fact that you do need to set up your trash for these abilities. But if you have 15 or less cards in your deck, I guess it's setting up your sideline by putting less cards in your deck. But it gets plus 1,000 BP damage to an impact one. So we're probably like only 20 cards short of that. So nothing happening right now. But also, when sidelined, you may place 2 cards from the top of your deck into your sideline. If you do, choose one character in your opponent's front line and switch to resting. So it is kind of like a double block if you want to think about it that way, which is strong. But we already have the 7-drop Kurapika hit the board on the other side.
You definitely love seeing this at this point. You're in a great spot in this game to start doing some damage, right? Especially with that snipe impact, going to take out 2 birds with 1 stone and kind of put the Sukuna player back to square one.
Yeah, and we're gonna get 2 damage here. Could have been 3, but at least the Nanami was able to stave that off. But if you don't have an answer to this Kurapika, you're going to be in a bad spot, I feel, pretty quickly.
Yeah, gonna have to get some KO effects of that ratio technique. Deciding to play ratio technique in this deck, collapse. That's basically the KO event of choice. Usually we see players run the Divergent Fist, but when you're not running a total UG package, it makes sense why you would maybe switch with the ratio not having as many requirements.
Yeah, but it looks like we just don't have it right now. And so we're just going to be able to attack with this. It's just going to get blocked, though, right? I mean, I guess when attacking, you can give the reduction if you want to, and also place a card from the top into your sideline to get closer to 15 or less in your deck, but you can just still block it with your Kurapika.
Yeah, because the Kurapika, even with 4,000, still blocks that 3,000 Nanami. So we're going to see how the Kurapika responds on this, getting a second Kurapika or even, an Emperor's Time going on it. Could be really interesting to get a snipe once again, but looks like it's just going to be that double 7 cost right there. And
if the first one was hard to remove, the second one
yeah.
is doubly hard. Oh, but we do get the ratio technique. So, all right, we evened out, right? We're still at 1 Kurapika, but
still 2 Zepiles. The Zepiles being a huge game in this. Drawing cards, now swinging hands, right? Taking life.
Yeah, and we did get 2 raid triggers in our life, but unfortunately, we didn't have the pieces at the moment. If we did, it would have, I think, been pretty impactful. But without that, we're at 2 life. We're only generating, I think, I guess we're actually generating 6 energy, so that's quite a bit. But we still need to get rid of this Kurapika, and we don't have any big ways to do that, unless we just get another ratio technique since we have Nanami on the board still.
Could be a move of doing that Sukuna, right? If we have a Yuji on the field, but hard playing that raid Yuji to just get in there and then filling out the rest of the action points with Nanami and just another vanilla raid Yuji.
Yeah. And it looks like we've got that there. I have no. You saw that thumbs up, right? I think that's a Discord thing.
Zoom. Yeah, it's a setting that he just has to turn off. It's very common, but either way, getting that swing in, getting that life, a hunter's license right there. So you love having that not in the hand, at least the top half of the life, but still an uphill battle at this point. I think the Kurapika at about 4 life right now. So those early game swings, early pressure, not really helping you out as the Sukuna player. And now you're kind of on the back foot. The good news is 2 of the 3 bodies that are on the front line are Zepiles, right? Which are easy blocks for your 4,000 UGs. Yeah,
but if they're able to make another impact anywhere on the board, you are in trouble immediately. So we'll have to see if that's possible. We're going to play another. There's no 7th one or 3rd copy, right? That'd be Oh
That's
no.
the Zepiles drawing. That's the huge bonus of playing all those guys down in this and ending it off also with the Hisoka is just so nice for the next upcoming turn in this game.
That's assuming you get one though. Like this is rough. We're gonna get rid of a Yuji here, and if this has to be a special trigger, which it is not. It is just a draw one. And then if this is not a final trigger, then we're going into round 3 with a 1-run record. And what do we get?
We've seen it before? No.
No, unfortunate. Yeah, and Larry just able to show the power of this deck. It does have some consistency issues at times, but not this game, and a pretty decisive, victory I think on that one.
Yeah, just knowing the outs and not kind of panicking, right? As the early game pressure was coming in, the Emperor's Time probably did a lot more influence than we originally gave it credit for, right?
Yeah.
Was able to get rid of that body right away and not really able to produce stuff on the following turns.
I mean, the Karapikas were strong. Don't get me wrong, but those Piles,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Those did I think more damage, or just as much, right? Just they were just a constant force that you had to respect, and yeah, just unfortunate for our blue JJK player. All right, but yeah, 3-7 cost is quite tough to get around. You know, you're feeling good if you get 2 off as the Kurapika player. Anything else from that is bonus, and I think that's just how it works.
Especially as a 5,000 power character, just extremely strong in the game, right? 5,000 just being a really good number for a lot of different decks.
Yeah.
Especially when you talk about purple Bleach or blue Jujutsu Kaisen, right? Only running 4,000 power characters in there, so forcing them to block and take knockouts on your guys.
100%. And we're looking for another game because we do have still like a little bit over half of the round left. I'm trying to find the best compromise of both decks, but also how do I say camera quality? Perhaps is the best way to say it. We've got a whole variety of both, I think, today. All right. This one looks. I mean, we did see purple JJK. Yeah, on the earlier round as well. Purple Code Geass mirror match. We do have a red Ashford Academy build. It looks like the game's about over, but that'd be interesting to see if they win to continue that. We see a blue specified slot, but that game looks about over. It's an oldie but a goodie because there's still a good amount of game left. It looks like we have a green Bleach versus green Hunter. Let me just check a couple more tables real quick, but that might be the one we go to.
And really curious with the green Bleach, right? We saw the kind of low to the ground one win the last Eggman tournament, right?
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting to see if people really stuck onto that, right? Especially as we do this tournament as we head into nationals, right? Because this tournament, a really good testing ground for is it Orlando?
Yeah,
is where it's at.
I think it is. I will not be present for it, so
I will not be either, unfortunately.
I have no flights I have to catch in Miami or Orlando, but I'm pretty sure it's Orlando.
But this kind of being one of the better testing grounds, right? You talked about almost 100-person tournament.
Yeah.
And especially, with audiences, you have a pretty good chance of getting good valued testing in here, especially if maybe your locals aren't as, high volume in a sense.
Yeah, because I know that it's pretty big stakes for a lot of this. Sorry, man. I am. Why do people? I have one qualm. I have one qualm, and it's vertical cams. Let me.
Best way to prevent your opponent from winning is having them turn their head sideways.
Yeah. All right. I'm fairly sure that I've made it like a requirement. You can't do vertical cams, but maybe I need to make that more present. I know it's the same matchup as we saw, but I'm gonna go to table one, and
Hmm.
it's still green Kurapika versus blue JJK. But let me. Is
But
it?
looks to be a little bit more developed,
Yeah, yeah, not as
than our
necessarily
last
as
one.
one-sided. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me get those set up real quick. And it is, yeah, it's switched sides from where I am on the camera. So blue is on the left, green is on the right.
The Kurapika player does, though, neon into a 7-drop. I know it's a little bit tough to see right now, but the neon into the 7-drop Kurapika is going to be able to take out one of these bodies, full boards on both sides.
Yeah.
And looks like Kurapika might be able to do pretty well against Sukuna, right? Especially if it gets those early energy consistency pieces going in the matches.
Yeah, and it looks like we this is a 4,000 tack because they are generating more than 6 energy right now. Um, oh, interesting. We're gonna take this one too. Yeah, because I mean,
I think it's in general, I feel like in Union Arena, it's better to take early in situations like this,
mm-hmm.
because of stuff like the 3,000 power trigger or like KO effects, things of that nature.
Oh, but did we use Divergent Fist on not the?
Oh, I think it was the trigger. That was the life.
Yeah, yeah, but did
Took
we?
out the Zep pile.
Yeah, why didn't we take out one of the Karapikas?
Um, I think maybe to stop the swing. I don't know.
I could be wrong. I felt like the other Kurapika would have been the better. I don't know. We just jumped into this. I could be misreading that, but that seemed interesting. Oh, it was a color trigger. Oh, okay. That's right. That's the UG color trigger. That's not the special trigger, right?
Oh yeah. So there's the Divergent Fist taking out the Kurapika right there, being able to clear a little bit of bodies. Still only have 3 bodies on the field right now. I think we still have to fulfill this last action point that we rested. I don't think we've done it yet.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's going to end up raiding Yuji.
And something that's also kind of difficult to jump into some of these matches is that some of these decks really care about what's in your sideline, and we have like no idea. we are just educated and guessing on some of these, but
so it looks like
Sukuna.
he's going to be able to raid on this Kurapika life trigger, though. It's going to be nice. You will be able to get a free block. Although I guess you could have anyways with the different swings, but
well, it's
looks like unless there's a final trigger.
No, you're good because you get the additional resting, right? Yeah, because Kurapika says you can, when played, you can choose up to one character in your front line and switch to resting. So.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
The
My apologies.
lesser ability, right? Like it's only really good if you play it off your life, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Great when it happens, but definitely way less common. Oh, and now with 2 cards that say impact.
I think played the Kurapika, but then also paid the Hisoka effect to force the block. So that's where that first block comes in right there, drawing a card off of that.
And this is to, I think, deter just like a final trigger, potentially ending your turn.
So that snipe impact hitting that one, that Yuji right there.
All right.
Life just going to be an add to hand.
Yeah. We'll trust them on it. And it is a Sukuna's finger, so not quite getting there. And that's twice. And a final trigger, or sorry, a special trigger, which it's so weird. Like the Venn diagram, like every life except for your last one, you want a special trigger, except for you want the final trigger as your last one, and then it's flip flop, right? Mm-hmm. You never want to see the final trigger, but if it's your last life, it's the best card in the game, right?
The last life, unless it's a final trigger, is a useless card in the game.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It is a card that you will never use. Mm-hmm. But that's just how the game is. That's how the game's built and played around. And so we're kind of seeing, it feels like JJK struggling a little bit out of the gate. The world finalist deck that was hyped up heading into this format. It's Kurapika the answer to it.
Yeah, so far it has been seeing that from our format. Now this is like a little bit of people like adjusting to the deck itself. It also did get, you know, a little bit balanced in the fact that we don't have a like one of the, or we have the restriction, right? The 2-drop UG restriction.
Yeah, play this UG or play the 4-drop Sukuna, which if you're asking me, you always play the 4-drop Sukuna.
Yeah, I had to do a lot of testing or not testing. I had to do a lot of looking up deck lists just to make sure no one was doing that, because you had to pretty much do that manually. No one was playing the 2-cost UG. No one, I've seen no one sleeve that card up, which is unfortunate because there's a really cool like Gen Con promo and Anime NYC promo that just never was able to hit hit the deck list for anyone. But I'm looking at table 2. It looks like it's another blue JJK, and they're playing against a purple version. They are,
looks like it's Mahito and Ghetto.
yeah, and I don't. Can you check if they've reported to? This might just be a for fun game at this point.
Let's see,
because it looks like it's a little bit too far into the game to not have, you know, for both players to be essentially.
No, table 2 is not reported.
Okay, all right. So this must still be the game. So let me get over.
Maybe you just had a really good shuffle, you know, at the start.
Hey, I'm not. You know, if it works out right, clearly the shuffle is good enough to keep playing this game. But
as long as they're within the time rules.
Yes, yes. Which we've got about 10 minutes left in regulation.
And with Union Arena, that 10 minutes could you might not need that 10 minutes, I feel like.
Yeah, this game's just so explosive at times. It's hard to really gauge where you're at, and some games are just like over before they start, I feel like.
So it looks like the Mahito, the purple JJK, playing out one of those transfigured humans, right?
Yeah, so this is a pretty specific kind of archetype for this. We've got George on the left here. Let me get his name there, playing that deck. But you're all kind of like based on like recycling these resources, which is pretty cool. And it does have like some consistency issues finding those. But once you're able to get like enough of these transfigured humans out, you get a lot of like this kind of consistency and removal possibilities against like non 4Ks, which can be very good.
Looks like off of that Mahito, apologies. Looks like maybe going to use that if you want to. The effect on the Mahito does have to be in the front line, so can't do anything with it aside from just having it as a body on the field, right?
I think so. You're talking about the 4-cost one, or the?
It should be a 3-cost. That looks like the 3-cost.
Yeah,
Mahito.
the color trigger one. Yeah, let me get that up.
But is going to start swinging with the different bodies on the field. That transfigured human taking a life still has a couple different Junpeis, transfigured Junpeis to go ahead and swing with, and with only one panda to potentially block with. Looks like maybe going to be claiming some life. The Junpeis and the panda do match in 2,500, so I think off of the UG, Ryan being a 3,000 power and active character does put that panda in the safe range to block that last attack and move back into the turn. The Malevolent Shrine on the field is going to be nice. It looks like we have at least 2 Sukuna's Fingers in the trash. I love when blue JJK players put the Sukuna's Fingers in a different pile.
Yes.
To easily note for everybody how many they have.
Yeah, I'm a lot of my biases are based on being a commentator more than a player, but yeah, that helps everyone. There's real no downside to it. All right, let me put the Shrine there too. Shrine really just depends on how many cards we have in there. So being able to give something snipe is pretty strong in a situation like this where we can just kind of remove bodies from their board.
So it looks like after getting one more finger in there, is going to raid with that 5-drop Sukuna. That 5-drop Sukuna, not the SR one, but the regular one right there.
Yeah.
That's a nice alternate art that is going to be able to get one of those Junpeis to rest, right? That means one of your swings is going to go through at life, guaranteed within this one. And you get to look at the top 5 for a nice old Sukuna's finger. So I don't know if he's got any left. It looks like maybe 3, potentially 4 in the
Sideline.
quote unquote trash right now. Yeah, sideline.
Yeah, so we're looking for like one more copy of it, which doesn't seem to be there quite yet, but
can also find Malevolent Shrine, but Malevolent Shrine in most JJK lists are set at 1. So.
Yeah, definitely no more copies than 2. So, but we are going to be using the snipe as well as the impact, or sorry, the damage 2 fork. Yeah, because we don't have 4 or more of the fingers in there yet.
So it looks like a Mahito SR. So maybe try to raid with it if you've got the energies. It is a 4 energies, so I believe you have enough, and is going to do it on the 1 energy. So keeping that 2 energy Mahito there on the energy line.
Yeah, and this will let you, when played, choose up to one of your opponent's characters on the front line. It loses 2,500, which I do think will get rid of. How much power?
We'll get rid of the panda.
Okay,
the panda is at 2,500, and then also playing a transfigured human affinity card or self-embodiment of perfection card from the sideline and put it to the hand. So great recursion effect, as you were talking about on this deck, an excellent raid option.
Yeah, so it just kind of worked out there to prevent you from taking more damage on this turn. And honestly, blue JJK might be in a bad spot. If you push everything up, you might just. Oh no, sorry. One of the transfigured humans is rested until the end of your next turn, so it's gonna not be able to attack. So,
but kind of as you're saying, right? The purple Jujutsu Kaisen, not too much happening on their field, right? Just 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and so if the JJK player can try to fill up these bodies here, right, and try to get really aggressive, could kind of push them ahead a little bit.
Yeah, so 3 cards in hand. We're going to move that one up to the front line. Oh, we're going to go down to 0 energy generation. That's a little bit greedy.
Could work out if you have some of the like zeros in hand in this, right? Be able to kind of give you a foolproof if you've got like some Junpeis or anything in there. Does start out with a 0 Mahito, so does at least have 1 in there, but not too many 1 energy options outside of the Abomination Junpeis.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's got.
Yeah, so we're back to generating 2 energy. And is there something we can do with our 3rd energy now?
Could have a couple different options, right? Mechamaru would be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Being the ones that, as it's active, gains an extra energy, would be able to put you at 4 next turn, but doesn't look like he's got that.
Can we play that card?
I do not think we can play Jogo.
1 second. 1 second. All right. Yep, we're good to go.
Easy fix, doesn't change anything in the game.
No. But we do have the 3-drop Mahito though effect. So once per turn, you can sideline 1. If you do top 3 and play a transfigured human, set to active. So that does get around the kind of like stunning effect from the Sukuna from the past turn. So we do actually have 4 attacks right now, and if all 3 of them go in, this is the end of the game.
So we're going to have to hope that there's no special triggers of any kind, right? No final at the very end. Does find a domain expansion right there. So that is something that you wanted at the very end. The wrong time for that card.
Yeah. All right, and you do get to choose which one you're attacking into. So again, top or bottom, up to George here. Obviously, up to him if he wants to block these two. But I mean, because you could, if you block first, you could hit an active trigger too. So I think you were kind of rather block.
And
first,
there's an
right?
active trigger right there.
Yeah, so that could have. I don't know. I think that just was bad blocking from this one.
So if you block that 3-drop Mahito, then you go in, you take the Junpei transfigured hit, you become active again. You would still end this turn at 1 life,
Yeah.
that 1 life right there.
Mhm.
So definitely one of those things as, you try to, play more games and try more practices, some sequencing that you come to learn.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's maybe less understood, but you'll see when someone sequences correctly are a little bit lackluster. Is that that's like probably one of the most important mechanics I think about this game right now. It's like sequencing around triggers, either them being yours or your opponent, the best way that you can.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, it's impossible to tell what's exactly in your life, right? But trying to set yourself up for the best scenario possible. I think I can remember in the first Eggman, in the first tournament that you ran for Union Arena, I set myself up in a losing game in like round 3 or whatever.
Yes, yeah, you did.
If I hit a final trigger, I win the game, and ended up hitting the final trigger. So
yeah, I know, like it's a 5% chance or whatever, but you really want to make sure to get to your outs, and you should always be like, if my opponent's life is perfect, what do I play around? What do I play into? And I think that's something that's worth just spending a lot of time kind of familiar yourselves with. So, but we're pretty much at the end of this one. We've got like 5 minutes left in the round, so I'm just going to put our timer for an additional 5 or so. But we'll be back with round number 3. We'll try to find what have we not really seen yet so far.
I feel like we've seen a lot of different decks at this point. Now that we also showcased a little bit of the Ghetto Mahito deck in Purple Jujutsu Kaisen. So I was gonna say if there's any still undefeated different Hunter x Hunter decks or Bleach decks,
Sure.
I guess those would be the ones, but those aren't the new decks.
No, I know we have a couple red code Geass players. Let me see how they're doing. Let me do a vibe check with them real quick. Otherwise, we'll just try to find the matchup that is a little bit more interesting. So we'll look into that. We'll be back, and we'll see you guys in round number 3. All right, we are back. We've got for you guys round 3, and we've got 2 unique matchups here. We've got the red version of Code Geass, the lesser of the 3, which isn't saying much because the other 2 are super good. Looks like we're entering back in again.
Oh, looks like switching up cameras, you know, getting a better camera angle.
All right, let me just hide that while they're setting that up. But yeah.
The Ashford Academy deck, given everything, basically rush or restand effects, right? Being able to get multiple swings in from a single character, or potentially, you know, a character that was played on the turn, the ability to go in at life. Definitely a curious deck. Not too many of these in the field, but our Trustin here playing the deck is undefeated so far.
Yeah, so not our most common deck, but I do like the idea of it. And the first time like we've seen red in this game, right? Like it's kind of like the secret 5th color that is technically existed for a while, but we have that. And let's here I'm gonna also have to probably adjust that a little bit.
No, it looks like it should be well, maybe a little bit adjusting, but either way, playing up against Purple Bleach. Now, this is in the, in essence of Renji Rush, right? But has a couple different tech choices that I'm excited to potentially see in this. Not something that you usually expect when you're approaching a deck like this. So we've seen it get beat up by a couple different decks at this point in this tournament, and we're going to see if Code Geass can kind of go 3 for 3, right? We saw the purple and green Code Geass beat it. See if red can.
Yeah, and I asked you when we were starting this, like, what deck are you playing? If you were playing this today, because I hard assumed you were going to play, but if you were, what were you going to play? And you said, Renji Rush hasn't done me wrong yet. I'd continue with it, and it's just the deck and I do think like it's still an advantage. Just play the deck that you know that you can work with. And you don't necessarily always have to play the new shiny thing, which is kind of the backbone of this game in particular, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get the deck that you think is strong, the deck that you like, and then you're chilling for 6 or 7 months until your next favorite IP comes out.
Yeah, it's a great money saving tactic for those of us that are playing multiple card games, right? You just have to buy that one thing, and once you have that one thing, you're good, as you say.
Yeah. And we talked about Card Fest happening in Orlando next month. But a lot of people are like, yeah, you know what? I'm signing up for this Sunday. If I don't get to day 2 in my event, this is the perfect day 2 experience for me. And I think that's it's really, really cool to see as well. But we're getting started. Trustin's playing the C2 there. Being able to draw C2, one nice. And trash one. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a filter card that is pretty much a staple, it seems like, in every single deck so far.
Yeah.
Most all decks playing something like that. But Renji now going second, gets their 2 action points, starts off with a a nice draw one, trash one, right on cue.
Yeah.
So looking a lot of lists at this point. The ideal turn on this is playing the Orihime. Exactly what's going to happen, right? Get you at 2 energies, and next turn you're going to be able to set yourself up potentially to be at 4 energy. Definitely a place where you like to be for aggro decks like this.
Yeah. And looks like we're just going to play another C2. Again, not very unpopular for us to see all these like draw one and sideline card effects when we are trying to just be as consistent as possible with this too.
And right when you hit 2, you have a lot of different options within this deck in terms of the Nunnelis or Ashford Academy, right? A card that we mentioned earlier, just so important in there, but goes ahead and plays in Arthur, the Arthur with Nullify Impact.
Yep, just another Ashford Academy 0 cost. This is, both these are technically, I'd say, kind of like rush decks, right? Like the raid is not particularly important for us here.
The only raid that you have in the at least red Code Geass deck is the Suzaku Kurugi.
Yeah. And we did play the one cost color Ichigo, and we looked at the top card of our deck and said, you know what? I actually kind of want to draw that. So we end up drawing that with our Ryu and passing it back to our Ashford Academy player.
And love on the either the first turn going second or just right away on your second turn for purple Bleach decks playing that Ichigo. That Ichigo is such a nice part of the deck, just so much value gained on that information. And then if you don't like it, don't need it in the matchup, just pitch it, throw it away, build up your trash for your removal cards right later in the game.
Yeah, and I tried to adjust the camera on the right. Help remind me to unchange it as we end this match, just so it's set up for the next one. But yeah, we got all this real estate for our purple Bleach player.
Going ahead and playing the Millie for the code Geass player. Going to give that little cat there, that Elgato, Arthur, plus 1,000 power, and going in playing a Nunnally as well. That 3-drop Nunnally.
Yeah, 3-drop's pretty strong. It is a super rare after all. I'll bring it up on the preview real quick too, so you guys can read it. But what it says is activate main, switch to resting. Choose one of your characters with 3,000 or less BP. It gains 1,000 BP and impact until the end of the turn.
Going to be nice, especially after getting this other character down on the field, to be able to start developing bodies.
Yep. And we were able to do 1 damage with the Arthur there. But yeah, not only just giving things just impact and plus 1,000 BP is insanely good. It's a very great effect.
So now the Renji player pushing up the Ichigo and the Uryu wants to have bodies of their own ready to go. Plays the Renji in 2 energy Ichigo. Now going in with the Bankai. Going to be able to probably play a raid on this turn, but plays one of the tech cards that I was mentioning earlier. It's that 2-cost Renji from the starter deck. Is going to be able to get rid of a 3,000 power character and gets rid of that 3-drop that was on the field for red.
Yeah, not as mentioned, not as common in like some of the Renji Rush, but not a terrible card to, again, we did get some removal. It's a little bit expensive, but I think late game we are in the spot where we have more action points than we know what to do with sometimes. So that can help give you at least something to do, right?
It's definitely a cool combo to use with the Bankai, right? Being able to get some extra APs back to be able to make that 2 AP move.
All right, so we ended up moving up the Millie there. Currently, you're generating 3 energy. We're going to use 1 here. And looks like we are going to play out a Suzuku.
Looks like with that on that win play is going to be able to play a 2-drop on the field, which is going to be very nice. Going to play another Arthur down, nullifying any potential impact that may come. The other starter deck, Bleach, SR, that Ichigo having impact potentially in the game.
Yep, and we're going to use the Suzaku here to raid into our impact. One of our few that we play in this deck. So once per turn, choose another one of your characters with 3,000 BP or less and set it to active. So you get to do this kind of fun combo where you can use the Nunnally to give something plus 1,000 in impact. You can attack with it, and then when attacking with the Suzaku, like you just get like a lot of impact swings that happen all of a sudden.
So can stand that Arthur if it wants.
That's true. The other Arthur
if
too.
They want.
Yeah. But it's when attacking, so you can make that. Yeah, I think we can make this Arthur.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is when attacking.
Yeah. There is the Ashford Academy that's activate main, so that would be strong for that situation. But yeah, we're gonna block there with the Ichigo. We're gonna go 3,000 impact, and then we're gonna go here with a 4,000 impact. And then we're going to be able to restand the Arthur. No trigger there. And then 1 more Arthur attack. And it is the Rukia, which will let us draw 1 card. So this is just kind of what this deck does. We don't really have a lot of removal, but we do just have ways to attack more than 4 times a turn, which comes up. And the fact that half these cards have impact as well does start chipping away at that life.
And especially as the Arthurs have 2,000 power, right? That Uryu there is just kind of be a sitting duck unless you have a removal card to be able to get something off of the field, just a free block. So we'll see with this first action point. Looks like it's going to be a Renji. May end up going into the Renji raid and using that the raid effect that I have to look up because I don't really use it when I play the Renji deck, to minus some power on the opponent's side, and that's exactly what I think is going to happen here.
Yeah, it's just 3,000 or less, which is generally all you need for this deck. Most cards are pretty low on the power side, so
especially in this matchup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so getting rid of the Arthur, it's been doing too much work. We got to get rid of it. And additionally, the Ichigo from the starter deck. So that's going to let us, if we want to, give it impact. Doesn't look like that's our prerogative, though, this turn. So we're just going to start off with our 4K Renji.
I would have maybe loved to see the action point get rested for the Renji double attack, potentially force a block on this one, but is going to go in now. You do have 4 swings, so is going to be a lot of offensive pressure anyways. Is going to trigger what looks like a Sayoko.
Yeah, so that's an active trigger, so we were able to get a plus 3,000. Arthur, just again, the menace that it is, unremovable, unanswerable.
Going to be nice because with this swing and the Uryu coming in, going to be a nice easy block for the Suzaku.
Yeah. Yeah, so Kurugi's going to be fine here for the Uryu swing, and they're going to pass 4 life to 5. And again, like this Ashford deck, it doesn't, remove a lot, but the amount of pressure that we can have next turn, like we have at least 1 damage going in because the Kurugi has impact. We can nunnally to give like the Arthur plus 1,000 and an impact. If we have a 3,000 attack card too, being able to convert that into an impact 1, like this is exactly what's going to happen with this Colin.
And it's going to be interesting if you can get a couple characters down, because that means with that Suzaku, right, you can swing upwards of 5 times in a single turn, which not a lot of decks can deal with.
Yeah, and right now we have 3 impact swings. So we can use the nunnally to give the Colin the impact. Additionally, this gets plus 1,000 until the turn. Oh, we might actually give it to Arthur as well, since we can give it the plus 1,000. Use the copy of nunnally to give the additional 1,000. And so we have 2 4,000 impact 1 cards, and then this 4,000 attack from Colin. This is really tough for Renji Rush to block all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly tough for what I feel like is any deck at this point. Once this red code Geass deck gets going, you got to produce bodies, and you got to produce big bodies as well to be able to block some of these swings.
Yeah, so it looks like we're just going to start with a 4,000 non-impact. Assumedly, this might be impact. I'm not sure. Without any dice, I have no actual way of what they put anywhere. But it looks like we've got the the color trigger of Ichigo, which we're going to use for a new Ryu, draw 1 and sideline 1.
Going to be hoping to draw something like Getsuga Tensho. Looks like maybe the same card, so pulling a Renji on that draw.
All right, we have our Arthur, which I'm guessing. All right, yeah, we didn't give that impact, but we're going to be able to. Does Kurugi only restand? Maybe I'm in the wrong with what it can restand. Is it only 3,000 or less? Yeah, it has to be 3,000 or less. Okay, that's where I'm wrong. Because you can attack with Arthur twice because it's a 3,000, but that's still.
But the Arthur being, I think, a 3,000 character, very nice when you have a couple 4,000 characters on the field. So that starter deck Renji actually doing more work than maybe what a lot of people give credit for. Being a 4,000 power body is kind of the theme of this deck.
Yeah, but it's kind of like I was mentioning. We're at the spot where, like, listen, there's easily 2 impact cards attacking next turn. You have to remove some of these, and if you don't, you strictly just kind of lose, which feels bad.
It's going to play over this Uryu and bring up the Ichigo, generating 3 energy now, so going to have to play a body down in order to do any sort of rating within this deck. is going to get another Ichigo and maybe a Bankai at this point.
Yeah, and another kind of weird thing about this spot in particular is that you really need to hit, your cards to hit the sideline in this deck. And look how many cards have just like voluntarily hit the removal area because your board was full, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of one of those problems with impact. You don't want to block
Mm-hmm.
on there, so you kind of just take life. And it's been an interesting spot because I think this Code Geass player, they don't really have to block too much at all if they don't want to. Block that double attack, though, at that point, but
Yeah,
can just
that
kind
one
of
you.
take this life freely.
Yeah, and let's see. It was a special trigger. That might just wrap it up by itself. So
It's going to
that's
be able to choose any character and sideline it, get that Ichigo with impact, one of the 4,000 power bodies still left to swing. And you stick at 3 life after fulfilling this one.
yeah, and we have hit I believe it's just a get trigger from there. So 3 cards on the board, 2 life remaining, and we're going to be able to attack a lot of times, and 2 of them are going to be impact attacks as well.
It's this 3,000 power Ichigo on the field right now. Going to be slight hindrance. You really wanted to raid with that if you could on this turn because 3,000 power, as you're saying, is going to be a problem on this defense.
Oh man, and we've got another Karugi here. This is probably just game over at this point. So we've got 2 impacts there. We're probably going to give the impact to Colin. So it's a 3,000 right now, and then 4,000. Or we could be giving it to the Arthur as well. We're going to start with a 4,000 attack with this Colin because it does gain 1,000 on attack.
It's going to be a nice swing. Is going to block right there.
3,000 from this Arthur, which we're going to get the free block from the Renji. We're going to go 4,000 impact, which will restand the Arthur. Oh, it's a Getsu.
Is it Getsuga Tenshu?
Okay.
Getsuga Tensho. Take out that last guy, and now you can go ahead and block on that Arthur swing. Still not in a great spot.
No.
I feel like at this point, but very good timely trigger.
Yeah, very, very important here. There are ways for, again, this is probably your final turn. Unless there's a final trigger, that is it. And it looks, I think they gave impact to Arthur instead. They get the plus 1,000 from Nunnally. So I might have given it to Colin just to guarantee the hit, but that didn't seem like the play. Again, they're not using dice, despite my insistence all the time. The one thing that I say, but it's okay.
We're going to see on this Renji turn if he can go in and play some bodies. The problem right now, you need to play bodies, but also play some removal. So 5-drop Ichigo would be really nice at this point, but do you even have enough in the sideline to be able to remove this Kurugi? You only need 8 cards, but 8 cards has seemed difficult at this point.
Yeah, and even if you do, Nunnally with Colin still gives you a 4,000 impact, which turns into a 5,000 impact. It's gonna be a little bit tough to be able to survive and also not lose, like just to not lose next turn, but also press for a win on the next turn. I feel like.
There's a shiny, pretty 5-drop Ichigo there, so he's going to be able to do the removal like we mentioned. There's a Getsuga Tensho. You would have loved to see that in your hand and use on this turn, but is going to be able to at least get rid of that one body, because if you can at least hit a final, it'll bode well for you in the time. So
yeah, and yeah, so we were able to get rid of that. It is a non-trigger. There's a 4,000 here. All right. And we should be fine for the last one. This is just a get trigger.
Looks like add to hand.
Yeah. 4,000. I think Arthur's going to take the call for that one. And then we have this 3,000 block for this 2,000 attack. Yeah, which we're going to pass. And then, again, we can use the Nunnally effect to give plus 1,000 and impact to the Colin, which, unless we see a final trigger, should be enough. But again, that final triggers exist in the game for a reason, right? They do exist, and they still can pop up.
one of these things that you have to do. You can see the finish line at the end, but you still got to do your turn properly to put yourself in the best position to win the game. Throwing up all the characters, no energy left on the field, going in with what is almost an all-in play.
Yeah.
Is going to play a couple of characters in the back line to end it off, those characters that he got from hand in the Karugis.
All right, so using the effect, give it impact, 4,000 impact, going to be 5,000 impact. Is the last card in that life a final trigger? And it is a raid.
And it looks like no. Raid Ichigo is nice for removal, but once again, that last card, no matter what it is, if it's not a final trigger, it's the wrong card.
Yeah, and but really close game. I think just showed like the power of both these decks. It really went down to 1 life apiece. And congratulations to Trustin, about halfway through this tournament, currently undefeated with the red Code Geass deck.
I think currently is the only undefeated Code Geass deck at this point, at least through 3 rounds. So
yeah,
going to be interesting to see how they continue to progress in the tournament. Would love to know the different matchups of each player.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and yeah, we had, I think, 3 people on red Code Geass in the first place. So but definitely doing the best of the 3, and going to be interesting to see how they finish this tournament too. But that's it for that game. We have like 10 minutes left. Let's see if there's any other tables. These table 6 look good at all?
Table 6, purple Code Geass versus Sukuna.
This one looks like it's about a turn away from ending. Let's look at table 7. Let me say real quick.
Table 9 is Todo in Jujutsu Kaisen, but it looks like it's almost over. 1 life left, but it looks like a pretty close game.
Yeah, we can definitely, if the Toto player wins, we go to that one next round, right?
Yes.
I think that's a given. So let me, because that's a pretty, you know, not a lot of people play the Toto version of JJK, I feel like.
It's definitely out of, well, Sukuna is definitely the most popular, and then purple having multiple different archetypes in the Ghetto Mahito, and then also the Toto as well.
All right, well, I jumped a little bit early, but just so in case this game just ends. So we've got Toto on the left, and then on the right we have, I guess Renji Rush is likely the right call for that one.
So 3 life left for the purple Bleach right here. Going to be doing a bunch of Toto swings. The Toto, I believe, has damage, right? So taking this life would put them at 1. Looks like it's going to be a Rukia raid and a Ichigo raid. So could do one of the 2 of those. Looks like is going to do that removal.
Yeah, and you get to get the other one, and yeah, just deciding which Ichigo to jump on top of, as well as, we're going to go the one on the front line. Interesting.
Going to the active. Going to be able to put some away, and I'd imagine take away this active Toto that's still left.
Yeah, looks like we have enough cards in our sideline as well. Worst case, like even just doing a little bit of reduction so they can't pressure one of our bodies is good enough. But yeah, getting that full removal with only 3 cards on the front line and 1 card left in life. It's going to be pretty tough to survive this next turn outside of a final trigger. But we do have 1 other card on the board here.
It is going to be interesting, especially if there's any Getsuga 10 shows coming in. I would imagine that, well, they may raid the active or the frontline Ichigo if they want it. I was going to say, because of that Rukia push, I would imagine no raids in this turn, but is going to play an Uryu, maybe digging for a Getsuga or another 5-cost raid Ichigo.
Yeah, that would help us out for sure.
Looked like counting up the trash a little bit, engaging different power levels. He might have the 5-drop. Ooh, and it looks like it's going to be the impact one.
No, 1 card that we need to be aware of too. It's the purple JJK card, whose name is escaping me right now. Let Let me look it up.
Are you talking about Boogie Woogie?
No, no, it's the character that's on the board, the one that has to block the first attack.
Oh, Miwa.
Yeah, Miwa. So Miwa is when blocking. So choose up to one of your opponent's attacking characters loses 1,000 for each other Kyoto in the same energy line. So it will lose. We don't have a final trigger there. Yeah.
But yeah, especially with that impact on the Ichigo, put the writing on the wall for the Toto, and a good, interesting moment, but definitely that raid Ichigo at the very end, proven to be a strong point, right? Getting rid of that one Toto, preventing a swing, keeping a body on the field. And that's one of those things, with the Renji Rush deck, there's so many different raids in the deck, so many possibilities that even if you only prize one or two, could be great for you in the end stages of the game to get a lucky trigger.
Yeah, there's just so much removal, and as mentioned too, like even if you don't have enough to remove something, the fact that you have a 4K body that can technically be like a 10K or 5K body or more by reducing the power of stuff, that can just buy you another turn, which is sometimes all you need in this game. It's so back and forth that another turn can just make the whole difference. So, but we are closing in on this one. I'll see how many players we have undefeated left into this one, because if we had 94 and we've had 3 rounds or so, I'll do the math. I can't.
I don't know. I majored in touchdowns in college. I didn't major in. I can only count by sevens.
Sevens. All right. Yeah, not divide by 2. That's okay.
Yeah.
How many field goals? No, okay. All right, 2-point conversions. 2-point conversions.
There we go.
Do we need? But yeah, we'll get that figured out. We'll have round 4. We had just under 100 players today with 94 today, meaning that we will have 6 or 7 rounds depending on some pair down shenanigans later in this. But we'll find out when we get there. We'll be back with round number 4, and we'll be right back. See you guys then. All right, so we are back. We've got our fourth round for you guys about to start, and we've got a purple version of the Code Geass versus the blue version of JJK. Probably the best two decks from the new sets, respectively.
It's going to be really interesting to see this matchup. The Sukuna deck is kind of a little bit more of what I would consider like the standard build. Like if you ask me to make a 50 of the deck, no Nanamis in this, although Nanami has value, going in with more Sukunas, right? Playing, some spicy options as well as the Takuma Ino, a typical 0-drop that we see in the deck. But the Purple Code Geass has a couple different adjustments themselves in this.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the fun thing. I think when I first started playing this game, like, man, isn't the deck building a little bit more restrictive? But you have all these like little ways to optimize the way that you want to play it. And I think that's something that's really cool and kind of less sung about this game, about how personalized you can make a lot of these decks.
Especially as kind of like this is the first big tournament, right, of this format. So different ideas coming in, different strategies, different deck building, ways that you do it, and we're gonna see if it works out.
Yeah, 100%. And it looks like we're getting started as well. We'll see what this looks like. Putting down our 7 life, and we'll get going. So let's see who ends up going first. Looks like it is our blue player playing out a UG and passing from there.
Very typical turn, just that 0-drop. No draw one, trash one from the Nobaras, though, unfortunately.
And we're playing 2 copies of Calling Out, 2 different versions, I believe. We've got the 0 cost and the 1 cost. So the 0 cost, just their standard get trigger, and then the 1 cost is our color trigger, which gets an additional 1,000 if there's a Lelouch somewhere on the board.
So blue Sukuna starting out with a Nobara there, nicely timed, right? We were just talking about it. Is going to go ahead, trash Malevolent Shrine.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Interesting to see that get trashed. We'll see if they play more than one in this match. Still has 1 action point to potentially use for maybe a double energy Nobara if they've got one, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. Pick up the 0 cost.
All right, and being able to do another draw one and sideline one next turn is going to be really good. We're going to end up using our additional draw here and just play out another 0 cost version of Colin.
So definitely don't like seeing that, and slightly underwhelming turn if you're the Purple Code Geass. Now you're at 3 energy, though. Can maybe start doing some plays, but we move back to Sukuna on a full 3 action point turn. We'll see if they can get something going, maybe with a Sukuna raid or anything like that. But going to start out with a Maki Zenin.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of underrated this Maki. It works for the deck pretty well, especially with the 2-drop Yuji not being present anymore. It helps out the deck with some consistency. So looking at the if you have 1 or more cursed tools, you get the plus 15, but 1 play, look at the top 2, add 1 to your hand, place the remaining in your sideline. So looking like putting a UG there. And then Nobara, once again, putting another Nobara out. And kind of slow for setup for both these players, just trying to get the consistent hand that they want, but nothing in the front line and no damage taken either.
I think this is something that we're going to see very common with blue Sukuna decks over time, is kind of somewhat of these slower starts, right? You want to be able to find your different pieces, right? Sukuna's finger, you got to get those in the trash. You got to find them somehow. And then being able to slowly find your different Sukunas to combo off with your Yujis. We've got 1 Yuji in the active in case there's sort of another slow turn, right? If you have multiple slow turns as a player, wouldn't surprise me to see the Purple Code Geass player push one of these characters up to try to get some pressure at the life, and that's exactly what he's going to do potentially with this. I can't remember the cost of this one. The 1 cost Callan.
Yeah, Colin. Yeah, and so we're currently generating 3 energy, which is not too much, but we've got 3 action points ready for us. The Yuji that's played on the other side that was just pushed or played into the front line, I believe has 3,000? Yeah, 3,000 BP. So it's going to be hard to press this. But if you do have a Lelouch on the board, this Colin does get that additional plus 1,000. So we're going to play out the Lelouch, which will give another 1,000. So this will be a 4,000 version of Colin.
That Lelouch is also going to give -1,000
Oh,
to
sorry. You're
the
right.
Yuji. Yeah.
I knew there was 1,000 difference somewhere, and I was too
Yeah.
positive. You corrected me correctly there. So, yeah, but we're gonna play out another call in here. So it's gonna be a 3,000 versus a 2,000 Yuji on the other side. So you will be able to get one little poke damage.
It's going to be really nice to at least get that pressure like I was talking about, right? Or maybe force them to get rid of that and block, but is going to go ahead as well, play that Gurren MK2 on there. And with the Lelouch on the field, the opponent has to block that attack if possible. So going to be a free swing after this impact, and Divergent Fist as the trigger.
Yeah, and it's a good card for these early spots, but yeah, we're actually going to get rid of the other Colin just so we don't take that other damage.
And I do like this, especially if you have a sort of explosive turn, right, to get rid of this rated character on the side of the field. You got a couple different removal cards at your disposal to be able to use, especially when you're generating a good amount of energy. Now, I believe, quick math, 5 energy for the blue Jujutsu Kaisen.
I believe it is 5 energy. Yes, you're correct. Sorry, the glare is always a little tricksy there, but yeah, five energy here, and definitely where you can start playing your own Sukunas as well, which is nice.
Especially with all the filtering they've done, right? They've played those Nobaras many times in the turn, and then also the Maki to draw some cards. And there's that first spawn that I was talking about, that removal in the Divergent Fist. Gonna hope to play some characters down because you played that card. You have nothing in the active at this point or in the front line to be able to attack. So this Sukuna raid is going to be very helpful for applying a ton of pressure.
Yeah, and now one thing though that's I think kind of unique is that you do lose your raid target, and that's a little bit rough. But these cards are usually only getting their effects on the turn they're played, right? So you're not like losing an impact outright, but obviously the more bodies on your board, the better, right?
And unfortunately, not going to be able to get any of the additional effects. No Sukuna's fingers yet, but with the domain expansion is going to do, once again, just more filtering through in this game after playing another one of those 2 energy Nobaras to pick up the 0.
Yeah, and during these like early turns, like I think that's what helps make this deck strong, is that you have like these removal options later in the game, but early game you generally don't need them, and then you just get like this 5,000 attacker or like an impact one kind of thing. So all of that, as well as being able to like the draw two, and so it's just like a good filter card in a lot of situations.
We're going to see now at 4 for the purple code Geass what they can do on this turn. Was able to muster up some firepower in that raid last turn, but with that gone, can they do it again?
Yeah.
Going to have to deal with this Sukuna.
All right, so 3 energy right now. 3 energy, 3 action points. We have 4 energy with the double Colin. And we're going to actually use our first action point to draw a card, which is not usually a sign of confidence there. But we are going to play out another copy of Lelouch, which will give the -1,000 to the Sukuna. And then we're going to raid into another Colin. So this is the Gurren Mark II from the, I believe it's from the starter deck, if I'm not wrong. Technically, if we got the starter deck, which we did not, but it's the super rare one. So being able to remove something with 3,000 or less means it pairs up with this Lelouch really nicely, and we're able to get the removal and then also the pressure here too.
Does get that draw 1 trigger, a free swing into life, and bodies are cleared. Kind of puts the blue Jujutsu Kaisen in an awkward spot, right? You want to push up one of these characters, some of your energy, but you don't really have any real raid targets, right? No raid Makis or Nobaras in the blue JJK decks to utilize.
Yeah. All right, we're
so goes ahead for extra draw.
Yeah. And it's interesting, most of the other games that we've been watching this tournament have been pretty fast and furious, right? Being able to just play out bodies, try to ping as much damage, but this is definitely more of like an advantage, like try to remove cards and get our own card draw and stuff. So we're going to start off with the Yuji though and raid into the 5-cost version of Sukuna.
So this is going to be nice. Going to be looking at that top 5, maybe finding a finger yet. You haven't been able to at least play one of them at this point. So, but not finding anything.
Ooh, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely something that you don't have good odds, maybe one in the life, but is just going to go ahead and the turn off with swinging. Did freeze that raid. So I think that was a final trigger.
Yeah, it was. It's the
United States of Japan.
Yeah.
I have not watched Code Geass, so seeing some of these names and stuff is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I always want to call it Japan of America, but it's the United States of Japan, so I had to double check.
So now going into the purple Code Geass turn, that raid character, the Gurren MK2, is going to be stuck there in the rested position, not going to be active. So no precious 4,000 power swing on this one. Going to have to move up characters or raid again in order to continue applying pressure.
Yeah, and again, it is really interesting to see how much just remove, get value, remove again, kind of like balance this matchup is in compared to the other ones that we've seen tonight. But again, looks, we're paying 2 for the special trigger.
Looks like it's going to be the Geass of Absolute Obedience. So a really cool card, right? Sidelines a character with 5,000 power or less, and then switches a action point to active. Especially at the beginning of the turn, it's almost like playing a 1 action point card.
Yeah, and the only issue with it is that if you only have 1 action point left, like technically that's how much it costs, but if you're in that spot, you don't get the draw for it. But there are some cards that take advantage of you using 2 action points, and we've got another one, which is this Lelouch that we played out.
This is going to be a 2 action point guy there. It has the effect, this character can't be blocked by characters with 3,500 BP or less. Then has an on play of placing a card from their hand, or the opponent has to place a card from their hand onto the sideline.
And real quick, it's 35k BP or more. So
I'm sorry, yeah, or more,
which is slightly better.
Actually, it is slightly better. Yeah, it is a lot better.
But yeah, the fact that we're 35k means that any like the common 4k can't block this, and then you're always like removing something with this if they're blocking with it. So it's a nice little card, and the fact that when you're sidelined, the draw 2, you just get kind of like a +3 in card advantage if you want to think about it that way.
Definitely out of the 2 action point cards, I feel like has just a ton of value in this format. Yeah. I think passes off the turn right after that.
It's something that's really good when you're kind of like building, as we continuously do between these 2 right now. But if you need something that does something immediately, it does kind of fall off on that side.
So we'll see if he decides to choose an extra draw again on this turn. Has about 4 cards in hand, so it does have some possibilities. Usually, personally, when I'm playing Union Arena, I'm not really drawing an extra unless I have like 2 in hand, in a sense, but does skip that extra draw phase and promote the Maki Zenin just to get an extra swing.
And Maki also gains the +15 when you are if you have 4 events in your sideline. I don't know how many we have right now, but that could come up. And it looks like we're playing out our Yuji as well.
This Yuji 2 action points is going to be nice, I would say. And with a Sukuna's finger, I think only has 1 in there. Oh, he's going to just raid on top of it for that 3rd action point.
Yeah, and this is like really good for the window of 35, which, sometimes it's just 5k short from doing some real damage, but in the fact that it was able to get the Lelouch off is good, even though it's just we're trading 2 action point cards. But empty board for our Code Geass player, only down to 3 life. A little bit scary, but we've got so many cards in hand now.
There's that card once again, the Obedience, in order to get that 1 action point worth.
And again, if we end up having a C2 in hand, we get to draw 2. Not that, I think at this time, card advantage is not the worry of us anymore, right?
Mm-mm.
The disparity is pretty big because there's only 2 cards in hand for our JJK player, and not really a lot of cards on board either.
Gonna be counting him out. I think he has exactly 4 events, he just said, in the trash. So that might be something to remember for that Maki boost.
All right, C2 is going to let us draw 2 cards.
One of my favorite things, you know, as previously playing that Obedience a 2 action point, even though we restood 1, is still a 2 action point card. So going to get that 2 instead of 1 on the C2.
And we are also playing United States of Japan, which means we now have 2 action points ready. Though I feel like we kind of need to have some kind of raid going on here if we want to try to get anything going.
So maybe thinking about a Lelouch raid or just playing down bodies in the active or in the front line.
Yeah, I think we have enough to, because right now we're generating 5 energy for purple code Geass. So we are going to play out Gawain, but just as a 4K body. And then we're going to raid with Colin once again. So that's going to be able to get rid of the 2-drop there and then attack once again.
So is going to be able to claim a life. It's a Sukuna. It's going to be an add to hand, I believe. Sukuna is that trigger?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's going to be really nice if you've got a UG to combo off with it in this turn as you're generating 5 energies, but takes an extra draw again.
Yeah, when we're behind on card advantage like this, we kind of are forced to, and it's 3 life to 4 right now. Again, we've got 2 4K bodies on the other side.
So if you've got a domain expansion, that can be a really easy, you know, extra draw to try to find something. But if not, it's not looking too good for blue Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
But starts out resting 1, is going to go ahead, play, looks like a UG, maybe raid with that 1 UG that they put in hand from the trigger.
But it looks like, yeah, we are going to be raiding with this once again. So this is, again, the rare one, which I'll bring up on the screen once again. We do get to rest something, if I remember correctly. And then, so we can get the removal of that. And then look at the top 5 for Sukuna's Finger, our shrine, and try to add it to our hand, which I don't, looks like they're thinking about. Yeah, no finding off there. And again, I think we've only seen 1 finger so far, right?
So just super unlucky. Wouldn't be surprised to see a finger in the life here in the next couple ones that they take. But is going to go ahead, swing that Sukuna, going to put the purple Kogias to 2, and is going to get a nice draw trigger off of there to get another card.
Not that, again, we are so happy with our hand size right now, right? I think we've got like 6 or 7, maybe even 8 cards in hand. Which compared to the one card in hand, maybe 2 for JJK, it's a pretty big disparity.
So it does have 1 swing available to them. So if they can raid, might be getting more. Is thinking about promoting this C2 right here. So promoting the C2, I think, would put you at only 2 energy. So you'd probably have to fill up your energy a little bit more. It looks like 3 in hand.
Yeah, 3 in hand
for the blue Sukuna.
So a couple more than I was originally seeing. So that is good, but man, I have to be curious, like what's in hand for us to think so hard about this play too. But it looks like for 1, we're going to be playing out another Colin, so we're generating 3. I mean, if we have another Mark II in our hand, we're in a good spot. Yeah, we still have to. Yeah. We didn't draw a turn yet. This is. They tapped that second action point to play something they haven't played yet, right? Yeah. Okay. Playing 0. Yeah. Into the front line. And then
I do like this if you don't have a raid, in a sense, just kind of filling up the board, in a sense, getting potentially like a chum blocker if any raid characters were to come down on this turn.
Yeah, and we played another Lelouch to make them lose 1,000, so it's 4,000. They can block with a 3,000 if they so desire, but no luck, and no trigger out of life. So we got a pretty full board now, which is going to be hard for them to interact with. And JJK, if you don't have any Sukuna's fingers in your or your sideline, you don't really get a lot of impact, right?
No, you do not. It's going to be a tough one if they can't find it. And having certain cards and, continuously using that extra draw, I really am curious to see what is in their hand at this point that they won't put down.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like the 6-drop 2 action point Sukuna that they've got in there, or maybe some zeros, but looks like a real thinker moment at this point.
But yeah, definitely, like, it doesn't happen, I think, as often as I would want as a more like mid-range player, but there's definitely a point in the game where, like, if you just have more cards than your opponent, you can just play out as many blockers as you want, and your opponent's going to have a hard time getting around them without impact, right?
Yeah, that's the value of stuff like that C2 combo, right? Being able to draw 2 cards on there.
All right, and just rearranging these.
Just talking about power levels, I think, before doing some. May have some different cards that take knockouts based on power, but playing a 2 action point Yuji right there. So you choose a character with 3,500 or less BP on the opponent's front line. If you have 1 or 2 Sukuna's fingers, you return it to the owner's hand.
Yep, and then we raid with the Yuji as well, which will get another card back to hand. And these are 2 4,000 attack swings, which we can block, but then we lose our 4,000s as well.
So really good job playing both of those bounce back characters. It's not like One Piece or anything where you get the counter back in hand, right?
No.
These cards getting bounced back in your hand are basically dead on the defense.
Yeah, and again, like, you're tempted to take 1 damage, maybe get an active trigger or a special trigger, and looks like it's just a get trigger. So we're going to lose something, probably going to be Gawain. Yeah, there it goes. And passing there. But now you're in danger of any impact, unless you play like a impact negate C2 kind of situation. But the same thing, like, you could, there are lines where you could win on the crackback with them only having 3 life and 2 blockers. If you're able to get a removal of something, you can do a lot of damage here too.
I will say the good news, at least for the Purple Coat Geass, you talk about the impact. There needs to be 2 Sukuna's fingers in trash for the 4-drop Sukuna from the starter deck, the raid, to get impact. So not at that point yet, unless the draw 2 finds one.
All right, we're gonna just get rid of card there. Let me make sure I know which one this is, but this is gonna just make it so they have to kind of go down to 1, right?
Yeah, there's going to have to be at least 1 block on this turn now, doing a little bit of the power, getting checks on everything on what to take. Is going to be comfortably at 1, so is going to be really nice. Finds a finger on the trigger. I told you there was at least 1 in there.
Yeah, and so now if they have a way to get an impact Sukuna, I mean, we still have a, I don't know, the Yuji that's on front, like, we can't raid on top of it because it's a raid card, right? Oh, and another finger. Okay,
another finger.
Yeah. If we weren't finding them, we knew they had to be in life, right?
Yeah, and this is a comfortable block right here. And so if you have an impact at all, if you've got that 4-drop Sukuna, I mean, you would lose to a final trigger, I guess, but is gotta think about what they want to do. You do have to play a Yuji as well on there. So 2 of your 3 action points have to be those 2. I think maybe getting a peek at the end a little bit. I think I saw a Malevolent Shrine at this point. So Malevolent Shrine, playing that down. The second copy, I think, would give, does it give impact? I think it would give impact if it's only 4 or more.
4 or more, yeah. So you can get snipe and damage 2, but I don't believe that you're going to be able to get impact unless you get a finger here. And even if you do, like, I don't think you have a way to put it into your sideline. So we've got 3 right now, and we can use the shrine, but I don't think we get the impact 1 right now.
So is going to put it on there and is going to go ahead, block, and then the Yuji could go ahead and swing. Is going to force another block. But not looking good because all the Purple Coat Geass has to do if in their next turn is just push up all the different characters that they've got to be able to swing in an all-in play.
Yeah. And this would lose to, for example, a final trigger, right? If you have like a Gawain that you can raid into that Lelouch on the board, right? I mean, I guess technically, I think you actually just push everything up, including the Lelouch. Like, you just replace it at that point, right? Because you just need every attack you can.
So putting a couple different characters down as the backup plan, right? As we kind of talked about, something that you got to do when you're going on an all-in play.
All right. So, I mean, this only loses to... If you were to replace a Lelouch, you only lose to double final, right? This can still lose to a final trigger.
Especially with that 5-drop Sukuna freezing one of the characters. Is going to be a free block right here. Just another one, and it's all coming down to this.
Yep,
and it looks like
final
no,
trigger.
it's just a UG.
Yeah.
So close, but we saw kind of the impact of not finding the fingers early.
Yeah.
Right, having so many different whiffs on their multiple Sukuna searches,
and the third one was in
hand,
hand, and you just couldn't get it out of there. That is so unfortunate.
So if I mean, I'm not going to say that I know, but if they potentially, instead of drawing extra for turn, would have just gone ahead and played the finger, maybe actually didn't have a Yuji on field.
No, we have the 4-drop Yuji. Maybe I'm wrong. When did we add? We didn't add that off the Sukuna, right?
No, we didn't find that finger off the Sukuna. I think it was just a draw of some sort, but because if you, I don't think they had a Yuji on the field because we played so many Nobaras.
No, there's the 4-drop
early.
that's on the front line. Because okay, go for it.
I was gonna say, like, I think at the times that we could have played it, it was the 2 action point and then 1 action point play of the. Ooh, it's so interesting. I would love to have a conversation.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on this one, but I think our Code Geass player had 1 life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if we had the Sukuna's finger, we could rest our active Yuji to draw 1, get an action point back, put the 4th finger into our sideline, and then if we do that, we could play our Sukuna and then go off, right? Because if we had
for
it, yeah. Because I think that was
my only thought of why we wouldn't play it is if we didn't have a Yuji on field, because then we would have to take a life, right?
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah, but we had the 4-drop raid one, so unless like they had 2 life, which I don't think they did. I think there was a way for us to be able to maybe get impact. If we got the finger off the Sukuna, then yeah, we were out of action points. We couldn't do anything with it. But I don't recall when we added that to hand, or if that was just in hand from earlier in the turn.
Yeah, it's hard to tell when we don't, have the players' hands and whatnot. But I think maybe even if they did have the 4-drop, as you were talking about on field,
yeah,
just valuing the swinging more at that point, trying to be more aggressive and going at that life instead of building up and kind of paying the price for it at the end. Because I think if they had played it, they had the combo to win the game, but they would have also had 1 extra life. So
we do have our Sukuna player in chat. It was a minor misplay, unfortunately. Yeah, we could have rested the Yuji. Yeah, because generally you just take the life, right? But yeah, I think we had the finger in hand that we could have used earlier to get the impact to go for game.
It's kind of a tough situation, though, because not a lot of characters within the active, right? And so at kind of a slow game, right, both players kind of having a slower kind of start, maybe you do value a little bit of that extra attack, right, to apply some pressure before they kind of get going in the game. So yeah. I don't know whether it was like a misplay or not, but it's definitely like a possibility. It'd be interesting to play out the routes.
I would say it's a misplay, but only because it would have won you the game. Because they were at 1 life. They were at 1 life. You could have gone impact. Yeah.
But the thing is, was that before all of the 5-drop Sukunas?
No, that they had 1 in hand at the start of the turn. Yeah, because they just said that.
I wonder if they just. I mean, because there were two fingers in life, and we whiffed the Sukunas twice, and I don't know if you expect to whiff the Sukunas twice, right?
Yeah,
Like
no,
you're
no,
like
but
one of them's bound to hit.
there last turn of the game, opponent had 1 life. There are 3 and
Oh,
3.
I see what you
Yeah,
mean.
there's 3. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we should have
I
just
was
played the
thinking
4th
like
one.
5 turns.
Yeah, 5 turns
before.
ago. No.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah. It was just a simple misplay on that one. So unfortunate, but I think Benjamin did play very well for this so far. We're still got some tournament left too, and that was our last undefeated table. So we'll see what 5 players we have left undefeated. We do have a purple code Geass, and we'll see what the other 4 are on the other side. So we're gonna do that real quick. The next round should be starting in like soon. I'm gonna put 5 minutes on the timer. It's probably gonna be less than that, but we'll do that, and we'll see you guys in round number 5. Be right back. All right, we are back. We've got for you guys round number 5. We've got 5 undefeated. We've got 2 of them here with a purple JJK versus blue JJK. And do you know the other 3 undefeated?
The other 3 undefeated, if I can look at my cheat sheet of what you messaged me,
Yes.
we have purple code Geass
Yeah.
in there. We have 2 purple code Geass, actually, and then 1 other blue Jujutsu Kaisen. So purple code Geass kind of showing up as the predominant code Geass archetype in here, and JJK kind of making a say.
And these aren't the only undefeated. Like these are, our undefeated ones left, but they're not going to be, the only ones who are going to be in the top 16. There's definitely some chances for other decks to kind of sneak on in there, and we'll have that at the tomorrow morning. It'll be on the website and the YouTube as well. But we'll continue into this one, and additionally, we have 2 chances for a pair down to lose, and if they do lose, we're going to be at 6 rounds today.
So purple JJK playing a transfigured human and then also a Junpei. Doesn't get that extra Junpei effect because there's no Mahito on the field, but it's establishing a nice 1-drop body. The blue JJK, though, is going to, I got to remember to make sure on my colors, is going to be able to play a couple different cards down, including the getting the Sukuna's finger in trash off of that Nobara, draw 1, trash 1. So going to be a nice start. We've kind of seen JJK on the blue side struggle a little bit sometimes with getting those Sukuna's fingers in the trash. So going to be nice to see one early.
Yeah, and the other card there, I think it's the store tournament version of it, but it's the Gojo. So we're generating 4 energy right now, which is quite nice.
It's going to be a good start being at 4 already. Now going into the purple turn.
All right, playing Junpei into a Mechamaru, so we're going to be able to get our own active double. We're going to have the transfigured human attacking in, choosing which life we want to take out.
The Junpei Mechamaru going to be really nice. Essentially 2 double energy characters heading into your next turn and a nice finger off the trigger.
Yeah, so that's already 2 in our trash, and that's more than our previous game. Like for most, like every turn but the last
95% of the for the match. So love seeing it. 2 quick, easy ways to find it, and you didn't even have to play one down. Essentially, looks like is that custom action points or is that from the booster box? Those look really pretty. I'm gonna have to ask him.
I believe they're from the booster box.
I'm gonna have to ask him.
I've already gone like 50 different action point arts that I've already lost track.
But anyways, playing the Maki, gonna be really nice. Gonna filter a little bit. Decides to put that Gojo in the trash off of that draw, and looks like playing that 2 action point Yuji down on the field to kind of round out the turn before swinging.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good amount of damage already. We've got 2 attacks going in. Top card from life is a get trigger, I suppose. It might have been a raid, but we added it to our hand. And then our second one is
going to be a Miwa, it looks like.
Yeah.
Or no, I think it was a Mahito.
I think it was a Mahito.
Apologies.
Yeah. So added to hand as well. No target on the board for us to raid into, and I think we're generating 4, so we should be fine for that. But definitely
should be able to make some moves heading into this next turn.
All right. Well, looking at our turn, we are generating 4 energy right now. Junpei is
potentially 5.
Yeah, temporary double. Yeah.
But no real reason actually to generate 5. No 5 costs usually in these Mahito decks.
All right, and we are moving up the Junpei and Moondrags. So being able to, if we have Mahito on our field, we can play up to 1 Junpei from our hand or sideline set to resting if it is sidelined. And we're going to play out the 3-drop version of the Mahito as well.
So can use that activate main since it is on the front line to sideline 1 other character on your field other than the Mahito. And then if you do, place 3 cards from your deck into the sideline and play a transfigured human affinity character from the hand or sideline to active on the field. So a great way to get an active body in there if they so choose.
Yeah, and we technically get 2 if we get rid of the the Junpei there because it does have that when sidelined effect. But I don't think it'd be a bit of a gamble if we get that too. But we are using the double, and we are going to play, I believe, our special trigger.
Looks like the idle transfiguration going to be able to put that the Ino in the trash.
Yep.
So he's going to go ahead, use that Mahito effect on there. We'll see if he decides to be able to play anything in there. Looks like a Mahito raid was put in the trash, and I think maybe a self-embodiment of perfection as well.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because those are generally cards you want in your hand. And we're probably looking for more transfigured humans to play off the trash. We're going to play the one out of our hand instead. And I don't think we can get rid of this Nobara, but playing another attacker means that we do get that advantage there.
So it is going to be nice in kind of the race, you know, in terms of the life, kind of maximizing on smaller boards at the beginning stages of the game. Looks like we're still waiting on either. Did we put a character in the sideline for the Mahito effect?
We haven't used that effect yet, no. So.
Oh, okay.
We were just deciding if we want to like. It just kind of depends on if we have another card to play out, right? Because we will be able to mill 3 with the 3-drop effect as well.
I think we already did that.
No, we used that with the idle transformation. That also mills.
Oh,
3.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
All right, looks like we're getting rid of our transfigured human. Give the minus 5k to the Nobara, it seems. Oh, sorry, minus 1k, so it's a 5k right now.
So let's see, is going to go into the attacking phase then, or just decides to put that double energy character in the trash?
Yeah, that Junpei was going to leave at the end of the main phase anyway, so that's fine there. And then we do
especially if you have a 0 or a 1 cost to follow up on this, or a 2 cost to play in the back line to keep the energy up.
Yeah. And then we have our transfigured humans here. So if we want to, we can get rid of it to get rid of the Nobara. Looks like we got another Mekumaru, which is going to be very strong. So we're generating 4 again next turn. And now we just got to decide, like, do we just want to do 2 attacks and have those go in? Or, you know, you will lose the Nobara to this 5k attack because they're both at 5k. Yeah, we're just going to attack in knowing that they really can't block these. All right. Oh, we do have an active trigger, though, so unfortunate there.
Is going to be a free block on this final swing. An excellent one to get. You don't lose any bodies on the field, and you don't lose any more life.
Yeah, Peter's life has been pretty fortunate for him so far, right? We've gotten the
2 finger or 1 finger.
1 finger off of there. We additionally had like this active trigger come at the right time. Been very, very kind.
Very good so far, but can it hold up? That's going to be the real question. Usually when I feel like I'm playing and I hit like 1 or 2 good triggers, I'm like, all right, the next 3, not going to be very good.
Yeah. You're like, all right, I front loaded my luck on this one. There's no way the other 4 cards are relevant, right?
So it is probably going to try to play a Sukuna down on this turn if he can. Is going to currently have, I believe, 5 energy on the energy line to work with. So maybe thinking about promoting the Maki Zenin up first. Does have 2 Sukuna's fingers in the trash. So there's 2 events right there of the potential 4 that could come.
All right, we're playing out the Shrine. And we do have, I believe, 2 fingers in there, so we can give damage to a Sukuna that's on the board.
No Sukunas yet, but with the potential raid, Divergent Fist, that's going to be a 3rd event, maybe with this last action point, getting a Sukuna raid down, either the one that searches with the searches the fingers or that starter deck one. I don't think we've seen a starter deck Sukuna raid all day today.
We've seen very few, if so, like one or two, but definitely more of the other. And it looks like we do have the raid, and it is the star deck one, so you did call it there.
Going to be nice as well. If there's one or more finger in the sideline, gains 1,000 until the end of turn, but with 2 or more gains impact, then also has that draw to place 1 in the trash on that on play effect. So a great card, especially if you have the 2, and it's going to start out with that impact swing.
Yeah, and that's fair, especially since, you know, we've already done some chip damage. This is 5 life right now for George, and we're gonna have to see if we want to take this or not. We're actually, just confirming if it has impact or not. Oh, we wanted that in our sideline, I suppose. Oh, did we have snipe? Maybe we have a third one for snipe.
Maybe there was a third one that we just didn't see, but does have that when sidelined on that Junpei. But there was no Mahito on the field, actually, so did not be able to get that off.
And I don't think we all had the Junpei either, so it looks like I think we got like a draw trigger there.
So on this no bar, I think it's just a 1,500. So your transfigured humans are only at 1,000 powers. So do you want to take a full bunch of life on this turn, right? A full set of swings, or do you go ahead and give up a block? Looks like a very sinister side of the field for blue JJK.
Yeah, this is pretty unfortunate. And we've lost a lot of our momentum. We had some good removal, and unfortunately, I think getting that Nobara removal was just likely the better play, especially with that active trigger. But yeah, we're a bit of a tough spot right now, but I think purple does have like a lot of interaction. There's still some things we can do with it, but it's going to be tough.
Especially when you have a deck that kind of brings back resources, right? Brings back some of those transfigured humans on the field. You know, you can slew together a couple different bodies with your action points. So we'll see what he does. Still, I don't know if we've seen a domain expansion played yet. So may have one of those in the hand to have a really explosive turn, right? You were kind of talking about in the earlier rounds that Union Arena is an explosive game.
Yes.
Right? A board state can turn around, absolutely flip like a Sakazuki mirror match in One Piece.
Gosh, I'm so happy those are a thing of the past, though. My goodness. All right, we've got
so he's going to start out. Looks like it's going to be a Jogo right there. So the Jogo, going to be a nice character, is going to minus 1,000 on one of the frontline characters. Which one do you choose? Do you go ahead, maybe do the Maki Zenin potentially? If they don't, well, if they had 3 fingers, then Maki does get a power boost, right?
Yeah. And it looks like we've got additionally the 4 costs Mahito. We also have our special trigger once again, so that does remove the Sukuna. And then this Mahito says, when played, choose up to one of your opponents with it loses 2,500 until the end of the turn. So, but we didn't rate it. We just played it out. But we do also have the transfigured Junpei there. And we are going to be able to attack. Since this was, these things are, a Divergent Fist. That is just brutal.
And then there goes that Mojito that was just placed on the field. Definitely feels bad, but the life for the Sukuna looking real good this game.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything you want.
It's definitely, you're very fortunate that you're hitting these things when you are. But there's not like, it just depends if they also have enough cards to be able to capitalize on this too. It looks like we just put another finger, I believe, in our sideline. So I think
So maybe had one in hand and use the Nobara to just get rid of it no matter what you drew.
We're playing the double energy UG 3-drop as well. And then do we have another Sukuna?
Feels like you play that Yuji down just for that, trash what is maybe the 4th finger with that Malevolent Shrine on field. is going to go ahead and make sure that energy play that Sukuna. So is going to go ahead, look at the top 5 right here for a Malevolent Shrine or Finger. Remember that it can search for either of them, whiffs it,
Yeah.
puts it back, but does get to freeze one of the characters. So which one is he going to do? I would assume, oh, looks like it's going to be the Junpei. I would have thought maybe the Jogo.
Yeah, I think the idea is that you can recycle the Junpei. So the fact that it can come back is, oh, never mind. They've decided to go the other way. Yeah. And
so
then,
with that, Malevolent Shrine gains impact.
yeah, we'll see if there's 3 or 4 fingers now, right? Because at this point we can at least get snipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have impact. So I think we only have 3 fingers in there.
So he's going to use that Maki Zenin to swing, and then the Nobara as well. Going to put down the purple JJK deck to 1 life. Is going to be a nice trigger right there, though.
There is nice. So that's kind of what you need to start maybe getting back into this game. There's not a lot of resources left for blue JJK.
Just only about 3 cards in hand at this point, and one of your energy slots is a sight, so cannot be moved up into the front line and used for attacking purposes or blocking. Has to stay on that energy line.
All right. Well, we kind of need to have 4 bodies up in the front line, right?
Definitely needed for the defense.
Yeah.
So if you can get any sort of swarm effects off right now, that would bode well. You probably don't want to move your Mechamaras if you don't have to. But you need to be pressuring in with attacks as well.
All right, and doing some thinking. We got some time, right? We've got like 11 minutes left in this game, or at least until overtime. So, and I don't know, like whenever I play Unity, right, it's always like, all right, I have a minute to think about my turn, and then just kind of execute as I go, right? Like there's not, you kind of just have to find like your best path at the beginning of your turn.
It's definitely one of those things too. The more cards that you have in hand, the more options that you have, and goes ahead and plays a Suguru Geto right here. So I believe the first time we've seen this guy on the field. Does have an activate main if on the front line. If a character from your field was sidelined during this turn, your opponent sidelines 1 character on their field. So does force your opponent to sideline a character. I think they get to choose though which one it is. So could be interesting to see which one they decide least valuable. Probably like the Nobara, I would think. You fulfilled that role. You've got 0 cost, 1 cost that can jump onto the field, right? Generating 3 energy right now.
Yeah. And so just, I mean, like with how the board is right now, you just know that like if they have a raid, you maybe lose, but it's going to be also a lot of energy to be able to do that and push up in the same turn. So you're probably narrowly buying yourself a turn. But this might be where you start to stabilize. But if you're able to also, you know, put together an impact card, that also will likely be just game over too. All right, there's the Maki here, being able to look top 2, add 1, and sideline the other. Sidelined, I believe, a Yuji raid card.
So maybe not having a lot of Yujis at the disposal. You know, the base non-raid Yujis.
Oh, we got domain expansion, so we got 2 action points right now.
I wonder if the draw was domain expansion and Yuji.
I think it was. It looks like it was at the top of the hand, so it could have definitely been a domain expansion, which made that Maki free, which is super strong. All right, we've got a Yuji in the front line. We have the additional Yuji, which will be able to bounce something back into hand. And
so it is going to be able to swing out here and go for lethal. We'll see if he can get it. Does still have a couple life left, so even if this is a final trigger, I still think you're sitting pretty well.
Yeah, and no final trigger, and that's going to be it. So
Blue Sukuna moving on. We do know some of the other updates of the matches. There is at least one purple code Geass moving on in this one. Two, both purple code Geasses moving in, staying undefeated.
yeah, and that's going to be our at least 3 undefeateds left. So we don't have. So there's going to be another pair down in the next round. And if they win, we go into 7 rounds. But we have a 50-50. We go to 6 or 7 rounds tonight.
It's going to be curious to see what the I think is the matchup guaranteed. Then purple code Geass, blue Jujutsu Kaisen.
No, because it can go
no?
either way. So we'll likely watch table 1 just because it's the maybe finals. So if it's a code Geass mirror match, that's like a little bit unfortunate just because it's a mirror match. But we'll see what that looks like. And then what else? I'm looking to see if there's any games that we have left. Not really. I might, petition. This might be wild. An additional break round while we get into maybe our last round or two. But because most tables I'm looking at are pretty much done.
It is very curious to see how well purple code Geass has done in this event. Like, we knew it was a strong deck, right, heading into this tournament. But although, I mean, like I was saying earlier, like, even though it kind of copies a little bit of the style of, like purple Bleach, the effects on it just make the difference in what put it as almost a step ahead, I feel like, as a lot of other decks.
Yeah, and I've got some extra time. If you guys don't mind just me talking for a little bit, I can just go through some data as we compile it. So for Bleach, we did have, let's see, we had 34 players. And of those, is that not right? No. Sorry, we have 17 players. And of those, we did have most of them purple. We had 12 copies of purple Bleach. And then of the green, we did have 5. And what do we do a pie chart walkthrough as well while we're at it? But no.
Oh, I have your pie chart video saved in my watch later playlist on my YouTube channel whenever I need it.
That is good. Most people don't know that video exists, and it's always been probably like once every 2 weeks. People are like, "How do you make a pie chart?" And I can just like link it and then ghost them. But jokes aside, yeah, I think it's a good it's always kind of intimidating to make these tutorial videos when you're like, listen, I just kind of learned this as I go. There's probably like a 10,000 times more efficient way to make these. But I've started to see pie charts pop up that kind of look in the style of it, and whether they're mine or not, it's cool to see that resource used, or people being able to just make pie charts in the first place.
It is interesting, though, to see how many different code Geass decks were running around, right? Especially since this is the first deck, or the first big tournament. There was also a good amount of Hunter x Hunter that I feel like was in this tournament. Oh man, quick math. 16, I think, Hunter x Hunter decks in this one. So definitely a good
fun
slice,
Google Sheets. If you just hold down the column, you can look in the right, and it tells you, it cheats for you. It lets you know how many we got. But real quick, so we did have 17 people on Bleach, 12 on purple, 5 on green. We have 26 people on code Geass, which is about a quarter, with 3 red, 12 purple, and 11 green. And then for Hunter x Hunter, we have 16 people on this, with most people on green. Yeah, almost everyone. Yeah, no one on purple Hunter x Hunter, which breaks my heart. But we have
looks like 13 green and 3 blue.
Correct. Yeah. For that one. And then 3 blue. And then for JJK, yeah, JJK's got the brunt of it. Even though Code Geass is like the newer set, and we did have proxies legal for for Code Geass in this event, just due to it being less than a week old in the States here. But of the JJK, we did have most people on blue. We had 25 on it. A good amount of people on purple, though, and obviously being X1 right now is pretty favorable as well. So we've got 6 people who are on purple, and then 3 people braving it out on yellow. which
The
additionally,
yellow, they're my real favorites.
yeah, and unsurprising, no yellows from Bleach today, no purples from Hunter x Hunter, and then every other the other two have all three colors represented, obviously in different quantities. So
I wonder if in the next event how much red Code Geass we'll see.
yeah, I think honestly I think people might be put on to it. Honestly, purple code Geass though is super fun.
It
I
is.
I don't think it's wrong to play that deck in any way, since it's new and there's some cool mechanics with it, and the sequencing for it I think is really unique as well.
I think Union Arena in itself is pretty interesting because I think even though you have decks or you have different IPs that own like similar colors,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of the decks like play differently within each other, right? Like a
Yeah.
purple Jujutsu Kaisen deck plays nothing like a purple Bleach deck, right? Whereas, a lot of other Bandai card games like One Piece, ones that we're familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
a blue deck is a blue deck.
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of similarities within it. So it's kind of cool to see as the game continues to evolve over time, how like more sets become and make the game more unique.
Yeah. I think that's true. And like one thing in particular too is that like they do uh a lot of cool things where like playing the game like is references like the anime or like how the thing works. Like the most recent thing I think is Code Geass, is where like all the raid targets are the pilots going into mechs, right? That kind of thing is
Mhm.
really cool. I like that kind of flavor mechanic, and Bandai is generally pretty good at adding flavor to a lot of their card games, and this game is no exception to it as well.
Be curious with Demon Slayer post nats as well,
Mm-hmm.
how that kind of affects with the different I think it's called sword styles, or
Yes,
no, that is it sword
I
styles?
think it is.
No,
Yeah.
it's breathing.
Or
Breathing. It's
yes,
breathing.
yes, you're right.
Yes.
My apologies. Yeah, yeah. There's
It's
different
going to be
styles, but
interesting
yeah,
to see how that's going in. Yeah.
yeah. I have to. I haven't looked at that too much, just because generally I learn all these cards because I put it in my deck builder, and I there's probably more efficient ways to do it, but I just hand translate it from Japanese just for fun, and just to learn it and get more acquainted
It's
with
good
all of it.
practice.
It is a little bit of good practice, and I can always use a little bit more of that. But so if there's any wonky translations, you can blame me. Which, especially some of like the events or like options or stages, like all those are probably not even the right words for this game, but those they're always like a phrase from the anime, and you're like, oh, I have. I know what I
I
want to
don't know
say.
what this exactly
Yeah,
was.
but I know the official translation is going to be something completely different. So,
You have to
um,
hope that there's no kanji, or that
yeah,
it's all
yeah,
hiragana and katakana,
and sometimes in Bleach specifically, I had this where they translated it officially in the anime as something like a little bit off base, but that's just what it
Mhm.
is now, right? You could say like, oh, this would probably be a better literal translation of it, but they're like, well, they said it was this. They called it tasty bread, so it's tasty bread now. I'm like, okay, sure.
I
Just
still think they missed out on the art of that card of tasty bread not being Orihime sitting in the
yeah,
chair
with the
eating
whole
bread.
loaf. Yeah.
The little cartoon. That's a missed opportunity, Bandai.
Yeah. Yeah. Is Ashford Academy undefeated? No. They lost their first round last round. They lost last round to
Mhm.
our purple JJK that just lost this round. So, but we don't have that much time left in the round. I don't believe. Yeah, we just hit overtime. So we're going to take a tiny break. We'll be back in like 5 minutes. Thanks for letting us just kind of hang out and chill. And we'll see you guys in round 6. Might be the finals. And we will be right back. All right, we are here. We've got round number 6 of maybe 6. It depends. We do have Antoine down paired on table 2. Can you actually see what their matchup is? Or actually, I guess we can do the
It
wave
is
thing.
blue JJK versus purple Code Geass.
Okay, which is this matchup as well. So, but
Yes.
we're at
Or
table
no, no,
1.
no, no. I don't know what
Oh,
Antoine's playing. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking
no,
about
he's
this
playing
one, but I
purple.
can't figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. See what he's playing against. Yeah. Let me actually. I did not update.
He is playing
here.
green Code Geass.
Okay, he's playing against green Code Geass. Interesting. So, man, I almost want it because this is maybe finals. We're gonna watch this one, but it would be cool to see purple Code Geass versus green Code Geass. All right. But we're playing the purple one here, which I really do like how this deck kind of works. It looks pretty fun, and it's the most represented one today.
It is definitely, especially in Top Cut, it's been the up there as most represented, or well, I guess there's no Top Cut, but like the top tables, the final couple rounds, there's 2 in the top 3. That's what I'm trying to say. But it has been a fun, exciting deck to watch, especially how the effects are. The effects are just so good on these cards, right? It's been high value plays every single time, and you don't have any like huge characters, right? It's not like Kurapika where you have your 5,000 power beat stick that you play down, but you have a bunch of 3/4s, low to the ground, just high value effects on the turns.
Yeah, and you can like I think the biggest thing is that the purple Code Geass is really good at sneaking damage, whether it be through impact or making it something like not being able to be blocked. There's a lot of like great abilities you get from that. That if you are able to do some damage early on, you can just kind of chip them out. But looks like we're getting started. We've got purple Code Geass going second, so we do have our draw one, trash one. We've got a finger in the sideline already, so a pretty good start from our blue JJK player.
Just like the last round that we watched, this is the same blue JJK player that we watched last round, had that same thing of the Nobara trash a finger. I think that's kind of one of those things that you almost mulligan for at times.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely a combo that you see in your hand and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep this.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It's just so good for this deck. It's just everything that you need. The deck's like, I want to draw cards and put cards in my trash, and I want it to be specifically that card 4 times. So looks like we're going to play another Nobara. Again, no surprise there. Got a draw one and a sideline. A second finger. Oh, we're approaching,
yeah,
very
it looks like
good territory.
Maybe had double finger, double Nobara in hand, and ending it off with a Gojo as well. That's that extra energy active Gojo. This is going to be as good of a start as you can get. It's all going to depend on what is in the rest of the hand for this Sukuna player, if they can follow it up with the right pieces.
Yeah, but it looks like, we get to ping a little bit of damage here. Top card is a Yuji, which is active trigger, doesn't do anything on this board, and we're going to pass it right back.
So the purple Code Geass getting a couple characters on field, got some energy going with that 0 as well as that C2 to potentially get some extra energy on an explosive future turn. But the blue Sukuna starting off with a draw, maybe domain expansion in hand, is going to push up double Nobara. So we'll imagine you'll see some other characters hit this energy line. There's that domain expansion, like I mentioned.
Do we have enough?
Then no, he should. He needs to have an Nobara in the back. Down, he'll be able to get that expansion as well. Yes, he should be resting another one. Yes, because he did draw 4 turns. So there we go. Now it's corrected right there. Easy fix. And so maybe thinking about domain expansion now at this point.
Yeah, at this point,
there we go. and now has 2 action points to work with. 3 energy, does need 4, but is going to play that 2 action point Yuji to go down and put that character back in hand for a free 2 swings on these Nobaras. Again, strong turn, I would say.
Yeah, we had a C2 in our life, so we get to get a draw 1, and then we hit into a Mark 2. So 2 draws, pretty good here. I don't know. Whenever I play purple, purple has just so many different ways to draw off their life. I get jealous as like a green or sometimes even a blue player where like my hand size always just feels so small.
More than likely, especially in this purple code Geass deck, there are 46 triggers in this deck. Only 4 cards not having a trigger on it. So just like you were saying, feels like purple every time, gets a trigger. Well, it's kind of designed that way. It looks like, looking into the deck list. So it's going to be really good. We'll see how it continues to sway this game in different senses, but is going to need to put up bodies. You can't let these Nobaras swing free forever.
Yeah. And looks like we're going to decide what we're going to do on our 3. We're generating 3 energy right now. We've got 3 action points. We know we have a Mark II in our hand too. So if we're able to get a double energy on the board, we can raid onto the Mark II. But that might be, we might not have one of those available to us right now, unfortunately.
It's a couple different double energies within this deck. The Callan. Colin.
Yes.
Well, there's no O in that name.
No,
but anyways, what do you mean? But does have also some Lelouches, right, that are double energy that can be accessed as well. But that C2 does give the double energy and will be sidelined at the end of the turn, but plays that 2-drop Lelouch down to get minus 1,000 BP on one of those Nobaras, make it a 500 power character.
Yeah. Still 2 action points, and again, generating 5 right now. So we're going to play the Mark II that we added to our hand off of our life. That will be able to attack into something specifically and have that impact 1, since we do have a Lelouch out. And then bonus kind of thing that you get to do off this is that you can raid on top of the C2, and then you would normally lose it at the end of the turn. But since it's now a new card with the raid, you're able to get the removal, you're able to get the pressure, and you're in a pretty good spot now for purple code Geass.
One of the strong points of this, those extra energy sideline characters we've always thought of, right, in these different archetypes, now has a new added value that puts so much pressure on. Now 2 4,000 power bodies on the side of the purple code Geass right now. So gonna be up to the Sukuna to respond. Does have 2 fingers in the sideline, so can make some magic happen potentially, but gonna have to be able to play some stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna start by drawing a card though, so not immediately sparking confidence. We're gonna push
maybe another domain expansion in hand. We saw that earlier.
All right, we do have the starter, the starter deck Yuji, so double energy. We got another domain expansion, as predicted.
So we'll see if any raid Sukunas can come down. But Divergent Fist is going to get rid of one of the bodies right here. Does have 5 energy to go ahead and use this Divergent Fist.
Yeah.
He's going to go ahead and get rid of the CC one. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, Gawain, yeah. Which
Gawain
is the more important name on the board too. So the right call in my mind.
So going in with this Sukuna raid to kind of round out the action points in the turn is going to be a draw 2, trash 1, trashes that, don't need it right now. Does look, I think, 2 fingers at this point. And so with the 2 fingers can go ahead, gain 1,000 power and also impact, I believe. It gains both of them, right?
Yeah.
So then passes the turn off there to purple code Geass.
And we did get another Gawain to our hand from our life. So that additional effect of the card to be able to not get blocked by 2Ks when there's that 2K on the board is really nice. And the Colin Mark II is just a vanilla at this point. So
We've seen in Union Arena how strong vanillas can be right in within the game. So it could be a strategy if you want to just play down bodies on the field to get some good blocks in to stop maybe the offensive presses of the Sukuna deck coming in the coming turns.
Yeah. But we've done a good amount of pressure. There's only 3 cards in hand for JJK, which is not a lot. We are generating our 4 energy, but we're a little bit low on resources, especially since our opponent still has 4 life, which is quite a lot.
And it looks like the Sukuna only has about 3 life in the game right now, so is going to not have too many, as you're mentioning, in the future, too many cards to work with. But plays down the 0, and with the 0, I believe its name is also the Lelouch, right? It's treated as such.
That is correct. Spoilers. 0 is Lelouch. I don't want to. I don't want too many spoilers out there, but yeah, that's him. So if the coat doesn't throw you off, but we are going to attack 4K. We can't get blocked by this 2K. So either you take the damage or you lose your Sukuna. Up to you at that point. And it's
going to be a nice add to hand Yuji.
Yeah, and then attacking just because we can, and we're going to pass back.
So does on the future turns have plenty of pressure that can come in with the Colin, double Colin that they put on the bench will be able to be 3,000 power swings. If oh yeah, you do have Lelouches on the field because of the zeros.
The zeros, yeah.
Yeah. So is going to be some nice synergy for your offensive power in the coming turns to try to apply a lot of pressure. But with no characters leaving the field, this on the defensive for the Sukuna could be able to put some guys down, do some raiding in this one, especially if a 5-drop Sukuna raid comes in, right? Stunning one of the characters, leaving it in the rested position could be a strong point.
All right, deciding on this, yeah, we don't have that many cards here. I think, yeah, just deciding, okay, we're going to push the Yuji up. Currently only generating 2 energy. Going to play the Maki. Lets us look top 2, draw 1, and sideline the other one. So we have a Gojo that hit the sideline. And then for 2, we're going to play out the Yuji once again. So this will be able to get this back to our hand, continue our tempo gain. And now we've got 3 pretty big attacks here. So 4,000. This is going to just go right into, yeah, there's a 2K and does Yuji get plus 1,000 when attacking?
It's on the opponent's turn. It's on the defensive, I believe.
Let me double
check. Yeah, during
your
opponent's turn, if there's a Sukuna's finger in the sideline, gains 1,000.
Yeah, so currently only 3,000. We hit the special trigger.
Yeah, special trigger. Going to decide who they want to sideline. I would say you want to go for the Yuji, right? You want to try to minimize the amount of Yujis on the field. Yeah. And especially if it goes up to 4,000, right, is going to be able to block one of these Collins. So I think that's a easy choice right there to get rid of that guy. And then now this 2K swing from the Ino just going to be blocked, and we move into purple code Geass turn. A well-timed trigger.
Yeah, and this is looking, again, I think on the side of our purple code Geass. They've been able to keep like a good amount of pressure and momentum. We're down to 3 life, but our backline, most of it can push up if we want it to. We're going to have that Colin move up, which is currently a 3K since we do have a Lelouch on the board.
So we'll see plenty of cards in hand. I believe upwards of like 7 cards in hand at this point. So card advantage, as you're mentioning, definitely on the purple Kogia side. Plays that Lelouch. I think that was put back in the hand from the Yuji earlier, then goes ahead with United States of Japan to set right back to 3. Could be really good if they decide to raid or maybe play a 2 AP cost character. There's a couple that run in these purple code Geass lists, not uncommon to see.
Yeah, and I don't know, it seems like we're kind of at the spot where we have a couple too many cards in our back line. We might have been able to push up a 0 as well, or use the draw. Because I'm curious what we're going to do with the rest of these action points for this turn.
Might be trying to raid on this Lelouch with a Gawain.
No, it looks
but
like...
ends up going over a 0.
Yeah. So I think we could have pushed that up. No, I guess we needed the energy generation for it, but yeah,
Played
interesting.
down that 2 action point for energy. Lelouch loses 3,000 power character on the front line. I believe it's that one.
Yeah, yeah. So we lost 3,000. We now have this Mark II, which is attacking essentially snipe, right? With only one card on the board. We have 3,000 here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Sukuna, which we don't have. Oh, do we? We do have a
We do.
Yuji.
We're generating 5 energy, but do we want to raid on top of this Yuji? That's going to be the question right here, and we are going to do it. Going to be able to push this one up. I think with 1 life left, though, this swing means that it's going to be it's going to probably be a block at this point. So the Sukuna, as fast as it came on the field, is going to go into the sideline.
Yeah, it's either that or, in situations like this, you have to be like, hey, I could like not lose this turn, but there's no way I'm going to win the next turn. You might have to just be like, if that's a final trigger, it gives me a chance. Otherwise, there's no chance anyways. So, but deciding to keep it going, we've got 3 energy generation right now. There's a pretty wide board on the Code Geass side, and we've got 3 life remaining. So it's going to be kind of tough to, either win or not lose on the next turn, I think, for the blue JJK deck.
It's going to be a tough situation, but plenty of cards in hand now at this point. Has with all the life taken and the drawing, right, especially from that starter deck, Sukuna, that is his name, gets a lot of draw in and a lot of filtering going on. So is just taking a good think, as you're saying, arguably one of the final turns.
Yeah, and for the record, the Colin only gets a plus 1k during your turn, so it is just a 2k right now, and then we have 2 4ks as well.
So gotta think that, a combination of like Divergent Fist and also the domain expansion would be nice in here. The 5-drop Sukuna could be real good too, freezing one of these rated characters on that side, but you got to put a Yuji down as well. I believe there's a 0-cost Yuji that we got from Trigger, but starting off with Maki Zenin, moving her up only is 2 energy as of right now, and there's that Yuji that I was talking about.
Yep, and we got another Yuji, so we're generating 4 right now. We do have a domain expansion.
There's the domain, gonna keep going potentially. I think that's at least 2 domain expansions that we've seen, maybe 3.
Okay, we have the Sukuna, which would be able to then draw 2. This is a 5k. And I think we have enough events in our sideline that Maki should be a 3k body as well.
But at this point, the power is nice for sure, but you need bodies on the field. Yeah. So you need a domain expansion. Does trash a Cursed Finger from this? Or no, that's Malevolent Shrine, I think. Yeah. So unless this is domain expansion, you're not going to be able to fill up the whole board of bodies on this turn. And we
have another one.
The train continues almost like a 8 action point turn, it feels like, but does have to spend both of those action points for the UG, does put a card back, but with characters that you can push up on the field, it's going to be tough.
Oh, and we can
especially
raid
with that raid.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty tough here. So minus 1,000 everything, and I mean, this is kind of like the same spot, right? Like if this is not a final trigger, we're losing anyways, right? So yeah, I think you would have been in like a slightly better spot if you had the other Sukuna that was already on the board, right?
Yeah. But I think, can it be? How many? It would be interesting if we've seen, I think is that 4 domain expansions?
I think that's the 4th copy of it. Yeah, at least 3 copies.
Yeah, so no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just none available to us. Yeah. Man, that's such a nice thing to be able like ask my opponent, hey, how many domain expansions do you have in there? 4? Cool.
Yeah, I
All
mean
right, 4 attacks, we win. Like,
that's the thing in Union Arena that you do have to be cognizant of, right? On both sides. It's a little bit harder in webcam
yeah,
because you're in a totally different location than your opponent, but that's one of those things that you just have to track and you have to be able to be mindful of on there. So he's gonna at least rest one, play a Lelouch right here, gonna minus 1,000, and with the 2 is going to go ahead. Is that another Lelouch to get rid of a 3,000 power character?
It's gonna get rid of the Sukuna there. I probably would have played that in the front line. It's Divergent Fist,
Ooh.
which yeah, we get the removal, but we do have Sean being 6-0 right now. We've got maybe one more round. How's table 2 looking?
It looks like that the purple code Geass is doing well, 3 life to 1, but the green code Geass starting to push up some characters. Looks like does a double removal. So if all 3 swings connect on this, it will win the game for the green code Geass. If there's a special trigger in there, maybe would end up losing. This is a really tight game. Do you have it on screen?
I do have it on screen. Yeah.
Okay.
None of the things are updated, but that doesn't matter. Yeah.
Swinging in right here, doing another swing. If this is a not a KO
final
trigger, so we need a final.
And final.
No, it's a raid. An absolute excellent final turn, playing 2 different KO effects. I don't know if you got that part.
No, I did not get that.
There were 2 different KO cards that like event cards, the KO cards. I don't know what they are, unfortunately, but played 2 of them to get rid of the only 2 characters on the field for the purple code Geass player. Exactly what they needed to clear the space and have 3 exact swings connect into life. Definitely a perfect set of cards at the very end for the green code Geass player. Does end this tournament, right? Because the pair down ended up losing, but was a very well executed final play from that player. Congratulations to them on that one.
Yeah, and I think also real quick, their last trigger was a raid Mark II. Was it Gwaine or was it Mark II?
I don't remember which one.
Either one it was, I believe. If it was Mark II, I think we had enough energy and the Colin out there to be able to play it out, and it would have made it so we would have been able to. If it was not the last card in our life, I think we would have maybe sustained a little bit. But yeah, close game, and I really wish we could have watched that one too, because it seemed pretty close.
It did look really close, and definitely a Hail Mary type of play at the very end there. But especially in Union Arena, we've talked about this time and time again, explosive games. That's the explosive kind of efforts that you need in order to sway a game entirely when your opponent least expects it. That's kind of, especially with filtering and finding the exact cards that you need for turns like that.
Yeah, there always seems to be a way all right, technically, I know that's like a 2% chance. This line can work, right? I could find this line, I can do it. There are some minor non-games where just one deck goes off, but most of the time it does feel like there's a line somewhere, there's an option somewhere, and being able to identify that and play into it or play around it, I think is a lot of cool and fun for this game too. But that's going to be it for our coverage with that one. We did have Sean win with the purple copy of Code Geass, so big congratulations to him. He's going to get a box of his choice of either JJK or the Code Geass set, so he gets to make that decision as well.
Probably going to go for the purple code Geass, I would imagine. Try to get alt out his deck, right?
Yeah, surely I have a serial number somewhere in one of these boxes, right? So it just depends if you guys get it or if I get it. But that's going to be it for this coverage. If you guys want to watch this, it'll be free to watch on YouTube. And additionally, I will have the deck list topping top 16 deck list as well as the leader breakdown, not the archetype breakdown on my website in the next, I'll say 12 hours. We'll see how true that is around 12 hours from now. So you can check that out if you guys want to see the deck list or how things did, and I'll have a video out as well. But Jake, thank you very much for being free for this. I know this was a little bit of a last minute, but I appreciate being free and interested.
Hey, it's all good. I love yapping. Thank you again for having me. It's cool to see these decks in action,
Yeah.
and very excited for Union Arena in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a fun game. I'll be honest, and I know that we lean into, I would say, like mildly more competitive card games at times, but to be able to have like these like once a month kind of events where people can just play and have a good time, that's really what I want for this too. And again, I know a lot of people are looking forward to Orlando in like 2 weeks, and they want that practice, and I'm happy that this can be for those people as well.
Hmm.
So if you guys haven't already, make sure to follow Jake. Link to their YouTube will be in the description, I think, already. But I do appreciate all you do for your card game communities. You have a One Piece event with Orange Samurai on Thursday, if I remember correctly.
I have a One Piece event with Orange Samurai on Thursday. Yeah, we're going to be casting his PRB tournament,
Oh, cool.
and then I'm going to be part of Mushroom Man's creator tournament. I'm going to be playing Red Purple Uta.
Oh, okay.
In the tournament, because we've all been given bad leaders, so it's going to be a fun
And
tournament.
Red Purple Uta just kind of
like
like accidentally snuck into that pile, right? Because it's a solid leader,
well.
right?
It's kind of curious, especially when you talk about the potential red stuff, right? Red Shanks, red-haired pirates, and then also the 7-drop Newgate, a card that you love.
I do.
Definitely.
We could have a whole different video about how I think like there's
cook.
something for Red Purple Uta, but I'll try.
I'm
to
winning the
for
whole
this
thing,
one.
or I'm going 0-4. It's one of those two things.
I'd have my money and you win the whole thing. So hopefully you get there. But surprisingly, there's no one else playing Union Arena on Twitch right now. So in lieu of that, we will be rating Luffy TV. So if you guys want some more One Piece talk and action, he'll definitely fill that for you guys. But thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you guys coming out to these events. Hope you had a good time, and we'll see you guys at the next one. Join the raid. Have a good one. Bye-bye.